Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, August 15th, Sunday, August 16th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys could join us this evening. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I hope you guys had an awesome week so far and a rockin' weekend. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on one of our many outlets. Right now we're on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know Mr. and Mrs. Martini from Colorado Martini. So they're YouTubers, and they go by Colorado Martini, and they travel across the United States in search of legends, lore, history, paranormal, and great travel destinations. They believe in asking curious questions to learn about unique places, and you can join them on their YouTube page under youtube.com/C/Colorado Martini. Welcome, you guys, and thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We're very honored that you asked.
Yeah, I saw you guys in your videos and the different things that you do, and I was just like, man, and you're here in Colorado, which I've lived in many places, and this is my home. I went to school and grew up in Cortez, and then went into the military, and then moved back to Cortez, then to Bayfield. But it is such an awesome and diverse area as far as people and landscapes. It's amazing.
Oh, we love Colorado. We've been here for going on 10 years.
Yeah.
We actually tried to move here many, many times, and something just always got in the way, and third time was a charm. And I got laid off at the university that I worked for in California, and that's what brought us here. It was for me to start working at CU, and I've been at CU ever since. And Patrick's in the construction industry in Denver, and we're doing YouTube on the side.
Yeah, that is quite a place to have a construction business. I bet you guys are constantly busy.
Oh, yeah. It's been incredible lately. My company I work for, we do a lot of large buildings, a lot of large apartment complexes, things of this nature.
So we've been in YouTube. We've been on YouTube for going on about 2 years now? Over 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little over 2 years. And we actually, everybody thinks our last name is Martini, but it's not.
It's not?
It's not.
Now, I've heard you guys call each other, like, you'll say Mr. Martini or whatnot, and I'm like, man, I'm so curious what their names are. I don't know if you guys intentionally keep it like that, or would you like to introduce yourselves?
Because it's become a persona. Colorado Martini became a persona. And my name's Denise. And
I'm Mr.
Mr. Denise.
Pat.
Mr. Martini.
And, he's Patrick. And so it basically started with me. And Patrick and I decided to write a cocktail book. And we would go to people's houses, and Patrick would make these wonderful, flavorful martinis. And it got to a point where people would always ask us to, bring our martinis with us and make special stuff. And we decided, let's write a book. So we started putting together a martini book, and it was going to be called Colorado Martini. And it's actually written and ready to be published, but YouTube happened.
Yeah, it kind of got pushed to a back burner.
Well, I mean, it looks like
was
you
fun
guys
writing, though, because we got to try every single recipe.
And we still do.
So now that my liver's recovering,
So we wrote the book, and the same note, I had started YouTube. I've been a software engineer and geophysicist for years.
Wow.
And
so it's just a natural extension.
It's just an extension of my tech background. And so I wanted to kind of like share knowledge with the world. And since my kids didn't listen to me anymore because they were adults, and so it actually started as organic gardening, and then it switched to, and then I started cooking.
But she still grows things.
And then we started having these lives called Cocktail Time to promote the book. And Patrick would come on the lives, and we'd make drinks and get drunk on our live events on our channel, Colorado Martini. And we had changed the name to Colorado Martini to promote the book. And everybody just really liked our chemistry, excuse the pun, on our lives, the way we interacted with each other, and, they just really liked it. And next thing we knew, everybody in the chat was calling him Mr. Martini and me Colorado, and it just kind of stuck. And then we just, about 6 months into it, I was making a video around Halloween, and I wanted to do the story of Cheeseman Park, and I wanted to tell the story of the Stanley. And so I made these, telling the stories, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're such a great storyteller. We want more. We want more." So I started doing some more paranormal type ghost stories because that was, kind of in my wheelhouse. But both of our wheelhouses, we've been into the paranormal for, God, as long as I can remember. And it's just something we've always been into. And
so the channel more or less just morphed into our adventures, and now we're filming them. So we go and do the fun things that we normally do, and we just look at the aspect of putting it on film while we're doing it. And we take a lot of pictures, of course, and film a lot of what we're doing. And Denise puts it together in a nice video at the end. We love going to haunted hotels and sleeping there. We have always been into going down in the cellar and seeing what's down there, kind of thing. Hell, we're the only people I know that have a coffin out in their garage.
I have a hearse. I actually have a Canadian hearse.
There you go. Yeah, we always were into the paranormal, and we were known for our Halloween parties for years and years. We've been married for 33 years.
Awesome.
And we've done tons of Halloween parties. And so I used to do videos for the Halloween parties, music videos that would play all, through the house. Our whole house would turn into a haunted house for the party, just like the whole house. And you couldn't even, when you sat down in the toilet, it was this dark, room. And I would have my version of the Ring video playing as you were peeing.
Oh my. Makes you go a little quicker.
And then we'd have a phone ring while you were in there. And so...
And the other bathroom was usually the motel room from Psycho, the Norman Bates. So you go in, there's a body in the tub and blood all over the walls.
Wrapped up in the, So we've been doing this for years, and we just kind of decided to start filming, what weirdos we were and the adventures that we go on. We've always gone to ghost towns, and, we've always loved taking haunted tours and knowing the history. And that's the thread throughout our channel now, is what it's morphed into, is our adventures, but there's always this history spin to it. So whether it's a paranormal video or a video about a national park or a ghost town or whatever, there's always a history thread through the whole thing.
If we're going there, you're going to know the history of it. So whether it be a ghost town or a hotel, or we do the research, we put together a nice story on the history of what's there. And sometimes that history begins in the graveyard. You'll find that the town's most famous people are buried just up the road. So it's just another way of linking the town or the hotel to the history of the area.
Yeah, we always like to tie in the graveyards to the places that we go for exactly what he said. It's the history there, and the famous people of that town are there. And not just go into the graveyard and say, hey, here's, Joe Blow. Here's Joe
He's
Blow.
buried there?
Yeah.
Damn, I wanted to leave flowers.
Wondered.
Here's Joe Blow, and, he did this and he did that. And so you're not just looking at a headstone. You actually have this person's story of who this person was and why and how they were involved in this town and how they died. And or going into a graveyard and noticing that there's all these gravestones that have the same year on it, and noticing something happened here in 18, it's like we were just up at Caribou Ghost Town, which is above Boulder. And, when I was researching, I noticed that all the, there's only like 33 gravestones there, and like 20 of them all had the same year. And they all died within 4 months of each other. And it's like, this is 10,000 feet in altitude in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains. What happened to these people? And, and sure enough, there was an epidemic.
Sure, it wasn't a big spider that came alive every 10 years to eat the inhabitants.
Well,
Sounds like a Stephen King movie.
That's a good story.
Well, I love you guys as mini adventures, and a lot of them. I'm sorry, I can hear myself echoing. A lot of them, you guys are, like you said, reporting the history. I liked the one where you guys were talking about there's Blackdom, right? And then there was another one near there that was also like a black town, which was Nicodemus. Yeah. Very cool. And yeah. And it's like, you notice all the graffiti and stuff, and it reminds me of like today it's graffiti with spray paint. Used to be people would carve their initials in, and so there's like different stages, but I still don't understand why people feel the need to do that, because like you said, this is our history, and why do you want to tarnish it like that? Yes, we know you're here, but who the heck is FBW or whoever the heck tagged it? Like, nobody knows or really cares.
And they put the Satan symbols on the walls and stuff, and this place it's sacred. It's it's one of these, for the audience that doesn't know about these towns, there's, after the Civil War ended, many African Americans left the South and came west. And they started these, it was during the land rush where, they were giving out parcels of land for free. But many of them got here a little too late for that, and they didn't get their property until the early 1900s. There was a second land rush that happened. And so they started these towns and bound together. And a lot of them were in Oklahoma, some were in Kansas. And Blackdom, the one we're talking about, is just north of Denver. But I didn't even know about these towns until, I'm sorry, not Blackdom, that's Deerfield, the one just north of Denver. Blackdom is in New Mexico, and we were going to Roswell, and I have to stop at every signpost and see what it says. And so we pulled over, and it told me about what these towns were, and that Blackdom stood there. And I looked out, and there was maybe some wood and stuff. There was nothing out there, and it turned out to be this thriving African American town. And so when I researched it more, I found there was a ghost town just out down the street from us, not that far, just outside of Greeley, called Deerfield. And that's the one with, has all the graffiti, and there's still buildings there. And it's an amazing place, and it's deteriorating, and it needs to be saved. And so little people know about it.
And highway goes right by.
Right. And then most of these towns are in Oklahoma. And a lot of them are ghost towns. Some of them still exist, but Nicodemus is still there, and that's on the Kansas-Colorado border. So, I tend to go down rabbit holes, especially with paranormal. People have these claims about a place, and I'm like, well, why would this person be haunting this place? I need to find out the history, and I need to find out, does this match history? Can I find any articles about this person? And
I mean, have you ever been to a hotel that's haunted by Elvis, but Elvis has never been there?
That would be cool.
Why the hell is he there now? I don't know.
It drives me crazy. This is haunted by Teddy Roosevelt. He's like to stay here. It's like, really? Why would Teddy want to haunt this place? It's like,
hell, he's hanging out in the Lincoln Room and the White House.
That's probably where they all hang out.
Oh man.
So stuff I'm trying.
Cigars after midnight.
Yeah. So I always ask the questions. Why would this person? The one that bothers me the most is Lord Dunraven at the Stanley.
If you take the tour at the Stanley, they will tell you that Lord Dunraven is one of the ghosts that haunts the Stanley. I don't even think he stayed at the Stanley.
Okay, first
427 or something like that. And that was part of the land grab thing, right? Like he grabbed that land and was supposed to develop it, but all he did was hunt it. And then
he did was hunt it. And he did have his own hotel, but it was by the entrance of the Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, it's down the road.
Park. There was never a building there. He never stayed there, but yet he haunts this one room. And it's like, because he's mad that Stanley ended up with this property, and it's like, so he
even though he sold it to him.
It's a reach. It's a reach.
So stories like that bother me. Personally, I think that room is haunted, and I think there is a ghost haunting it. And I've seen, instrumentation go off and EVPs, but I think it's not him. I think it's, maybe a ghost pretending like it's him, or saying, yeah, it's me. Answering me.
It was actually the maid downstairs, but I want to be Lord Dunraven.
Better recognize.
There you go.
Or then the other thing that bothers us is it's always the woman in white, and it's always because she was married. The woman in black because she was the evil witch, and what was the other one? The woman in red because she's a harlot.
My three favorite ghosts.
Right? Those are the interesting ones.
I fear we might have went down a rabbit hole.
Well, it's true, though. There are so many different stories, and it's always a lady in white, which we've had a lady in white here at our house, but we've also had a little girl in a little white nightgown. I'm not understanding white. Is it because they want you to trust them because they're wearing white? Or is it something else? I mean, I don't think you have to wear what you wore when you died. I think you're a free spirit. You could appear as whatever the heck you really want to. But I don't know. Like you said, it's so interesting. People just make up these stories so they have something to say or whatnot. And you're like, how does this really make sense? I can kind of see how he'd be like, well, this was originally my property, so I'm going to take the presidential suite or something like that. I don't know. But still, how does that make sense?
He's got a castle back in Scotland.
Yeah, Dunraven has a castle back in Scotland. Wouldn't he?
Hell, I'm going there.
Ireland. Wouldn't he be haunting that? And he had only been at Estes Park hardly ever.
Anyway, yeah, we think that tying the history to it makes it a little more interesting and a lot of times a lot more legitimate.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to legitimize the paranormal because we believe in it, and we get very frustrated when people fake things, and because we want to prove to people that there is such things as spirits, and I want to prove it scientifically because I am a scientist. I believe in I love working with psychic mediums. I love working with, sensitive people, and I like backing up what they feel and hear with actual instrumentation. I love it. I think it really proves, somebody's there. And so I get very frustrated with these people that that make things up just for show. We won't mention names on TV.
It really sucked if you had a paranormal show and no paranormal showed up.
I know one of your episodes. You're like,
on this tour, right?
down here in the Four Corners, supposedly. But yeah, one of your guys' episodes, you're like, I just did an interview and nobody was there or whatever.
Oh, that was the interview with the ghost.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like interview with a vampire, but nobody showed up.
That was in Galveston. He was making me laugh so hard. We're trying to be serious. We're trying to do a paranormal investigation, and he's making me laugh. I mean, we have more outtakes on that investigation where would you see the one where the K2 went off? And I'm like, why is the K2 going off? And he goes, because there's dead people in here. And I was like, will you be serious?
How inappropriate is that? They didn't know they were dead.
I know, they're all surprised, and they have like a midlife ghost crisis.
There you go.
But we just went to the Abbey down in Canyon City.
Canyon City is a cool city.
Yeah.
If you like prisons and torment and all that kind of stuff.
It tends to bring
And
a
the
lot
Ku
of
Klux
paranormal
Klan,
activity.
you can't forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know that it has deep roots with the Ku Klux Klan down there? I didn't know that until I started researching
Yeah,
it.
it was actually capital of our state for a short period of time. And, yeah, it has roots with the Klan and, of course, the prison system there.
But we did the Abbey with a group, and we were down there with 303 Paranormal. We do a lot of stuff with those guys.
Yeah, good group of guys. They don't hate, they investigate.
Yes, their slogan, don't hate, investigate. And they're out of Denver. We met them in a group, on a Facebook group somewhere, and we've been friends ever since. And so we did an investigation with them, and there were several other people there too. One guy who's kind of the resident paranormal investigator at the Abbey. But this Abbey's huge. Very,
very cool.
Yeah.
A lot of spirits roaming around there.
So I'm still going through the evidence because I'm busy trying to get other videos out. I actually don't go through my evidence until I'm ready to make the video. But those guys have, and they caught a ton of EVPs, especially when I was talking. Ghosts like to talk to me.
When they can get a word in edgewise.
So,
hey,
yeah,
she's not that bad. I've seen a lot of people that won't be quiet because they just like to hear themselves talk, but I think she talks when she should, and I think she does a really good job of it. And another thing that I've noticed is she monitors the tone, like the motion of her speech. Like, she doesn't talk too fast to where people are like, what did she just say? Like, she says it at a pace to where you can follow along. If you're distracted by the kids or whatever else, you could keep up with it. And it's very nice when that happens, because some people, like I said, just like verbal vomit, like where you're like, what the heck did they just say? So I think you guys do an awesome job of it. It's really good.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It seems to be a style that's out in YouTube right now, where talk as quick as you can and put out the information, and you're like, wait, what?
Double click backwards. What the heck did they just say?
Exactly.
But you guys have caught a lot of stuff. So when you started this channel, first of all, what year did you guys start? And did you start off as paranormal or just recording your adventures?
Well, when you look at the channel, it says 2016, but that's a lie.
Lies! Lies!
That's when
lies!
Yes. Lies! That's when I opened up the account, and was watching other people. But the actual changing the name to Colorado Martini and posting started in February of 2018. And we started doing the alcohol lives, the cocktail times by that summer.
I don't remember that summer.
Yeah, we were drunk the whole summer doing lives. I still, to this day, a lot of our subscribers have been with us for a long time, and they're like, we want lives. We want lives.
Let's get drunk together Saturday night on YouTube.
Let's get drunk on lives. And I just I just can't do it. It is to put out all these other videos and do, and drink on Saturday night until we are so drunk. But yeah, so we started with we did the lives, and we were also putting out videos at that time and kind of finding what I call finding our voice. And by Christmas of 2018, 18 was kind of when we found our voice. And that was, doing the travel and adventure with the historical theme through it, with paranormal thrown in. So we don't do paranormal 100%. It's just, part of the genre of the things that we do.
Yeah, like how you say fun with spirits, I believe is how you say it. And I'm like, well, that's cool, instead of making it really creepy or spooky or whatever, because you guys do. And there's several groups. I had one on last weekend, Wrestling with Ghosts, and their humor, I mean, I'm just laughing while at the same time looking at evidence and stuff, and I love that, like humor with the paranormal. So that's awesome what you do. I also love that Patrick carries candy and puts that out as one of his tools to kind of lure in the spirits. Trigger object.
Yeah, the firehouse we did in, it's an old firehouse. It's a gallery now. It was the original firehouse in Longmont, Colorado.
The schoolhouse before that.
And it was the original schoolhouse before that. And we were having kind of a bad night. We were there with a very good friend of ours, Dory Spence, who's a psychic medium. She runs Kindred Spirits Paranormal locally here. It's actually across
local chapter.
Well, no, she runs the whole thing. And anyways, Dory's she's actually done some police work down in your area in Durango. Wow. Anyways, we were with her and a bunch of other people, and we were just not getting anything all night long. We just really we're not getting anything. So we were in the basement of this place, and we've already given up. You can hear everybody talking around us because everybody's kind of given up. We're kind of packing up for the night. And Patrick's K2 starts going off in his pocket. And I'm like, why is your K2 going off in your pocket? And he had, what?
I originally thought it was just, if it was turned on, I was walking and it was probably bouncing around. So I pulled it out of my pocket and said, I was just walking, and I set it down and it went off again. And I also reached into my pocket and I had some jelly beans in there from the old-fashioned candy store in town. And apparently the spirit was after my jelly beans. So we were able to coerce what we found out later to be a little boy into having a short conversation with us for the opportunity, I guess, for him to smell the jelly beans. But he sure liked them. So
yeah, ghosts. We find that they communicate with us whether it's day or night. We're not late.
You don't have to wait till 3 a.m. to speak to a spirit,
or we don't. A lot of people do it. Because you want the noise to be quiet. You want the buildings not to be creaking because of the sun and. Where it's expanding and contracting. Yeah. But we can sit on a step somewhere where we know it's kind of a haunted place, and it can be in the middle of the day, and we'll get something. And
I like to do my ghost hunting after breakfast. Some of our best interaction, actually, we were staying in a hotel in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and. Sat out and had a good conversation over coffee with the spirit, who was happened to be staying in the same room as us.
Yeah, we were in the Plains Hotel, and we went to all the places where all the claims were, and we really weren't getting anything. And it was a really hard place to do an investigation because they have music playing, country music playing 24/7 in a lot of the areas that have claims. And so it was just really hard to, get EVPs or just do
avoid copyright strikes.
Yeah, avoid
that kind of stuff.
When you're a YouTuber, that's something you have to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. They will catch you quick.
Yeah, sometimes you'll notice in my videos, all of a sudden you hear music in the background and you hear me talk really loud. It's because I'm trying
Who
to
turned on the radio?
I'm trying
La
to
la la
talk
la la.
so you can't recognize the music. But yeah, we weren't really getting anything, and so we decided to. We were staying in a room that had no claims whatsoever, and we had a spirit named James talking to us. And every time, several times when we'd ask him what his name was, we would get James over the spirit box, and he was communicating with.
Multitude of electronic devices.
Yeah, the K2.
We got yes and no questions on the K2. We were getting voices through the spirit box and actually caught a really cool cold spot with my thermal camera sitting next to Denise where the ghost box was and the K2 was. So it was really cool. And like I said, this was at breakfast. We were having coffee in our room.
What's creepy about those thermal images, we were sitting there talking to this spirit for a long time, and the cold goes, it's like this puff of smoke, purple smoke, and it's coming out of the bathroom. There's no ventilation. This is the old hotel, the Plains Hotel. There's no ventilation in this hotel. They just have the window air and heating, and or the heating was the what do you call it? The radiating heat, and it was over by the window. And this cold plume was coming from the bathroom, which was completely on the other side of the room. And you could see it move coming towards me. And what was really creepy about it is how it went up from the floor over to the K2.
Almost like it was reaching out to the K2.
Yeah.
To make it go off. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best evidence that we ever got at the Plains Hotel. And I think what was really weird is my family calls me Nini, and nobody else calls me Nini but my family. And when we asked the spirit box, well, what's your name? And it told us James many different times. Well, what's my name? And it said Nini. And that blew me away because it was like, how the heck does it know my name's? I mean, right after I asked it, what's my name? Nini.
Yeah.
That was freaky.
That was pretty bizarre. So I guess to come full circle with this is that it doesn't matter what time of day it is or what day it is. We think that there's spirits among us, and a lot of them are willing to talk with you if you're willing to give them your time of day.
I think the most bizarre evidence that we've gotten, and I still can't explain it, was at the Bullock Hotel in Deadwood. Being a
was
geophysicist.
That where you were using your not K2, but the SLS Connect thing? You did the Connect on your computer instead of using one of the expensive cameras? You did your own thing because you're super smart.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know about that, but...
dang, she did that on her own.
Well, that's what my training's in geophysics is. Being a geophysicist, basically what you do is you use instrumentation to collect data, magnetic data or electromagnetic data, gravity readings, seismic readings, and you basically use all this different instrumentation to, depending on what you're looking for, ground penetrating radar. You're an expert in all these devices, and you're looking at all this data to kind of figure out what you're looking at. And so we're kind of the people that tell you what's under the ground, where we think gold is, where we think oil is, where we think the water is, and things like that. So, instruments like an SLS camera have always fascinated me because they're right in my wheelhouse. Although I don't practice geophysics anymore. I've been 100% software engineering for years. So I took my software engineering back skills and geophysics and built my own SLS. And it's basically what they're using on the shows. They're using a different brand though. I forget the name of the brand. It's out of England. But those cameras, the SLSs that they're using on the paranormal shows, are specially made for those shows. And they're like $5,000. And they've got battery packs. A lot of them can walk around with them. But some of them are using the Connect from the what's it, the Xbox 360 and Xbox One. And I mean, that's how it started, was with that device anyways. And then since then it's evolved, and there's a lot of SLS cameras that are out there. So you can't, so to get one of those, you have to order them from like GameStop, and they're really, really expensive.
Yeah, I just got one from the Ghost Hunter store, which I've always ordered my equipment through them because they've always been reasonable. And when I look now, I was like, is that how much I really paid for that Periscope 360 or whatever? Like, it's insane. Then they try to charge me $45 on top of the $400 I'm already spending to ship it. I don't think so. But,
how much did you pay for that, if you don't mind me asking?
I believe it was like $349 plus tax came to like $402 or something like that, and then $49 in shipping, which they owe me for a light they sent beforehand. And like, I could ship something that weight and not pay $49. I'm not going to pay that after paying this amount. For me, it's a lot, but I mean, it's reasonable compared to $4,000. That's insane. And they claim to be the ones that make it for Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters and all these different other shows. You see that in the description. So I'm not sure. They can be really, really pricey.
Ghost Stop claims that too. So they've come down quite a bit in price. Are you tethered? In other words, are you plugged in, or do you have a battery pack?
I have different battery packs that I carry for like my cell phone for lives. I can't do YouTube yet because you have to have 1,000 followers, but for Facebook Live, and then my cameras and my speaker and whatever else I might need it for, because batteries can drain so quickly on different locations.
Yeah, we had a lot of problems with that at the Abbey.
Especially
a lot.
So you were going to tell us about the evidence at the bullet?
Oh, so we were talking about we're talking about the SLS. So because they're so expensive, I basically took an Xbox One Connect camera, which is an SLS. It's sensor lens something, what stands for SLS. So there's many of them out there, and that's exactly what the Connect is. And a lot of these paranormal shows, that's what they were using in the beginning. A lot of times when they were sitting at a table and they were using an SLS, they were using a Connect from an Xbox.
I think that one of the paranormal videos or movies actually made it popular when they were showing that the kid was playing a video game and entities kept popping up next to him on the camera.
Paranormal Activity.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was in Paranormal Activity 4 is what made the SLS, where it made Ghost Hunters kind of went, huh.
For me,
I wonder
like,
if that works.
in our house, we actually had an experience like that. And when we first moved in here, we had one ghost, a guy who died from emphysema. We always called him John. Come to find out, that was his name. But then other things come in because they pick up on, we have gifts or communication devices, so we have different random things coming through. But we used to have the Connect hooked up to the 360, and it would often turn on by itself and start scanning around the room. And a couple times when the kids were playing, they're like, hey, get out of the shot, like you're interrupting, the Connect to focus on me. And they look over and nobody's there. It's like the little ghost girl that we've seen or whatnot in the background trying to get in on it too. So that's when we unplugged it and haven't used it since. It's been about 4 years, I think. But I like to play with that stuff outside of my house, but in my house, I try not to.
Yeah, we feel the same too. I don't want to investigate in my own house, and plus I don't feel like anything's here anyways. And I don't want to bring anything here either. But yeah, those SLSs they're a fantastic tool. But at the Bullock Hotel, they gave us the whole downstairs, the whole basement in Deadwood. And this used to be owned by Zeph Bullock, if you don't know the history. It was owned by Zeph Bullock and Sol Star. For those of you that have never seen the
two major characters in the TV show Deadwood.
The HBO show Deadwood. They were the two main characters.
Great show, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
yeah,
if you're into westerns, it's awesome.
Have you ever seen the show Deadwood?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah. Deadwood, the town is fantastic. We love it there. We've actually got quite a few videos on it. We spent a lot of time there. So we stayed at the Bullock Hotel, and they gave us the whole basement. And so the basement was a bar at one time, and it's completely closed down now. And when they do use it, they use it for weddings. So there's nobody down there except employees. And they're kind of using it as storage these days. And who was it? Zach from Ghost Adventures?
All the major ghost hunters have been there. It was really a challenging investigation because while we had the entire downstairs, the entire upstairs is a casino. And the building's over 100 years old, so it's a creaky-ass floor casino. So you may as well rule out your voice phenomenon. That's not going to happen. The K2 was pretty much worthless for most points, too, because of the old wiring and the amount of wiring they needed for the elevators and the slot machines and all the shit they got going on upstairs, that it made the K2 worthless. You could go to certain areas of the building if you wanted to collect evidence and make the K2 go off, but that's also what makes it completely worthless as evidence. So we were basically down to a few tools, and the SLS was one of them. And it actually turned out really cool because being able to sit in a room in complete darkness where you can't see your hand in front of your face, but yet you're looking on your computer screen and you can see clear across the room, every object in the room is mapped, and any movement in the room. It's actually quite incredible. Complete darkness. It doesn't produce light like a lot of our IR cameras do. If you've ever looked at an IR camera with another IR camera, or if you're investigating, run into another investigator, you see how much illumination the camera actually generates to get that IR photo in complete darkness. And man, we had stuff running all around that room.
Oh my God.
On the ceilings, on the walls, on the floors. It was pretty creepy.
So we didn't get stick figures like a SLS normally would put out. We got these black orbs, and I'm talking, they ranged from half a foot to
the size of a good cat or raccoon running around the room.
Yeah, and they were they were on the ceilings, they were in the middle of the room, they were on the floor. Sometimes
they would take shape. Some of the shapes that I caught were kind of disturbing on camera. Different forms, different beings.
Yeah, because like when we reviewed the evidence, we were like, "What the hell are these things?" You know, they're not bugs. They're way too big to be bugs. I mean, you can see in the footage in the video.
And the patterns they moved in were kind of scary too. Straight lines, very fast. It was incredible.
And there's no light pollution down there whatsoever.
And it wouldn't matter because the camera isn't affected by light pollution.
Yeah,
it's not affected by mirrors. Yeah. It's not affected by any of the other stuff that can ruin your evidence.
I even noticed you guys try to debunk it by using a flashlight on the wall, and it's not picking it up, but you still see these black orbs, and sometimes it looks like a head and shoulders morphing into an orb or whatever. There's different things. And then you have this REM pod you pay so much money for sitting on this table, and they're going everywhere but where the REM pod is.
Well, one time they did go down to the REM pod. It didn't turn it on, but you saw one of these orbs drop down to it when we asked it to. But we had just gone upstairs to go to the restroom, and I didn't have the recorder on yet. And I had just sat down and Pat's asking it, can you turn on, can you touch the REM pod? And I'm still getting settled and haven't even pushed record, but the SLS is on. I can see, I can see it live. And it was like, damn it, I didn't get that on recording.
That was creepy. Well, we caught really good evidence the first night we were there. We were there 2 nights. And we were surprised because we didn't really get any interaction. When we went back to the room and we looked at the footage, we're like, what the heck was that? Oh, there's another one. So the second night, we spent a lot of our time trying to debunk it because it was such bizarre evidence that we have to prove that it's real.
Right. And
Yeah,
I have put the footage. I've asked paranormal groups, Facebook paranormal groups, to take a look, and nobody's like, I have no idea what that is. I've never seen anything like it.
It's crazy the things you pick up, and, fact is indeed stranger than fiction. I noticed on the right side of the camera, something kept kind of leaning in, and I'm like, man, if that camera was just over a little bit more. But I could imagine, had you done that, it'd still be doing the same thing, because it knows, like, the spectrum that it's picking up. It could see that energy reaching out, that IR. This thing was definitely intelligent.
Well, and the room itself, it was partitioned in the middle. So one side was the actual bar, and the other side was, kind of the dance area.
In a stage.
A stage. And so the camera was pointing out to the stage area, and I was sitting over in the bar area. So I wasn't even really in the room with where the camera was pointing. And Mr. Martini was walking around the room, and every time he'd come around the corner, these things would,
like kind of run from me.
Like they were running from him. And it was really weird. And the history of this place is this was an infirmary. So the Bullock was originally a hardware store that was owned by Zeth Bullock and Saul Starr.
Yeah, so the hardware store that you see in the TV series that they run together, that really was there, and it burnt down at one point, and they built their hotel right on the top of the ruins of it. The brick walls were still there, everything. So really, really cool place.
Yeah, so part of the building, you can see the difference in the brick, and we show that in the video, that you can see where the old part of the building of the hardware store was. But when it was a hardware store, that basement was there as a storage warehouse area. And when I think it was the smallpox epidemic went through Deadwood, they put the children that were inflicted with smallpox into that basement.
It was a children's infirmary.
So a lot of children died. And the way these orbs were reacting were very childlike, like they were
running around the room.
Running
amok.
Amok.
Or they were, kind of scared of Mr. Martini walking around. And
I get that from Ghost a lot.
Maybe it's your energy.
That's what I've been told by psychics, is I have a very strong energy. Sometimes they like to use me for a battery, but they don't really like to talk to me. They like to talk to Mrs. Martini, which I don't blame them. She's a lot cuter.
Why, thank you. But yeah, that was the Bullock Hotel. We actually have more footage that we're putting out around Halloween, because we also were in Martha Bullock's room.
She's got a ghost cat.
She has a ghost cat, which I think one of those orbs was the ghost cat.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a fat cat with little legs, stubby legs on the bottom.
Had like little pointy ears.
Her cats reportedly walked around the hotel all the time. We think it came down in the basement. Yeah. Miss Martini loves cats. So.
But yeah, we have a lot more footage that we just haven't even put out yet. So I was going to put it out right after that original video, but I decided to wait and hold on to it for Halloween, the Halloween season. So we're going to be putting out a lot at the end of September, all the way to Halloween. I've been kind of holding on to some of our best stuff for then, and then we're doing. We always do a haunted house venues, not haunted houses. The
amusement part,
haunted houses. We get asked by the 13th floor to come in every year.
Yeah, they're a good local. They're a good local haunted house. Always have a blast when we go there.
So 13th floor always lets us go in ahead of everybody and film. And last year we did it with our IR cameras, and it was.
It's not as creepy. You're not actually shocked or spooked at all, because you see them lurking in the corners. It's like.
And then going back in their door.
They don't know you're prepared.
So
Night vision.
So we've done that for the last couple of years, and then Frightmare haunted house, which is a huge one here in Denver. It's been around. It's like the oldest one around and the biggest. They contacted us actually today and asked us to come in.
New territory.
Yeah, for Halloween. And so we've actually never been to that one. So I try to do a different twist every year on the haunted houses, but we do the haunted house walkthroughs too.
And the haunted houses in Denver are great because they serve alcohol. All of them have bars, so you can go to the Shriek bar over there and have a couple of drinks, and then go through the actual haunted house, and it makes it more interesting for sure. Spirits meet spirits.
Sometimes it takes some spirits to lure out the spirits. It seems like some spirits are there and attracted to bars and different areas because people are partaking, and sometimes they can do a walk-in or whatnot and do that as well, because on the other side I don't think you're able to eat or do certain things like that. It's funny how that happens. That's one of our big rules on our team. Like, if anybody comes investigating with us, you cannot be inebriated because that allows something to take you over more easily. So it can get pretty scary, but it can make it fun as well. I know in Georgia, in Savannah, Georgia, they do so many different ghost tours, and one of their big things is bar hopping and telling the different stories of each bar, so you can imagine how everybody turns out in the end.
We need to go on that tour.
Well, yeah, the tours are a lot different than an actual investigation, though. I think that the tours, they have a lot to cover, and they're usually pretty watered down. When you definitely don't want to involve alcohol when you're doing a one-on-one investigation, or you and your partner are down in the basement of a haunted building or something of that nature, and you rely on each other. That's what makes it, I guess, less scary. People ask all the time when I tell them what we do. First question is, don't you ever get scared? And I'm like, no, I'm not afraid of the dead. It's the living that scares the shit out of me.
Me too.
And, but, when you're doing an investigation, you're relying on each other. And if the other one's over there stumbling drunk and of absolutely no use to you, then that also brings in a little fear of your own that, hey, my partner is not with me on this one, kind of thing. So, I think that the ghost tours is a good place to get lit up and go hear the history and everything. But, I mean, as for the personal investigations, we don't ever really drink on those. It's more of a serious setting, even though I'm usually cracking jokes the whole way. I
think
personally
they appreciate
think spirits have a sense of humor. So
the good ones appreciate it. The bad ones might not, and oh well.
Well, if they don't, screw them. I don't want to talk to them anyway.
That's right. They can just go kick cans.
They'll have a sense of humor. Screw them. We don't want to talk to them.
Well, I think anytime that I've ever felt uneasy or scared is because there really is something there, and because I get sensitive and I feel it there, and that's how I know something's there, is that I feel scared. And I'm not even sure if scared's the right word for it. I can feel it. Yeah. And it's draining me. That happens to me a lot. A lot of times when that happens, it takes me days to recover. And I'm zonked for like a good 4 to 8 hours after that happens to me. It happened to me real bad in Cheeseman Park. I don't know if everybody knows what the story behind Cheeseman Park, but it used to be Denver's cemetery.
So that's our poltergeist story here in Denver. You didn't move the bodies? We're picnicking on graves?
Yep.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Cheeseman Park, it happened.
Cheeseman Park is one of my favorite stories, and that's kind of it was the story of Cheeseman Park that kind of started this all on our channel. I told the story of Cheeseman Park.
I don't want to interrupt, but we do have to go to our first musical break. But I do want to pick up on Cheeseman Park when we come back.
All right.
So, on this break, we have Michaelan Hay from Ontario, Canada, and this girl just graduated this last year. Kudos to her. I'm so proud of her. I feel bad. She didn't get the graduation she deserved, but she's going to be singing Devil You Know, Mirror, and Nothing But Blood. And then we have Mr. Griff with Let Freedom Ring, because I just really love that song. It's so funky and you know, it touches my soul. So I hope you guys appreciate it. We'll be right back after this musical break. Okay, so
Okay, yo, here's the scoop. You can still be a slave, you're whipped and looped, that's the truth. Got big houses, nice cars, that's real cute, but it doesn't mean nothing, you ain't free to choose. When I say free to choose, no alarm clock, don't gotta hit the snooze. The world is backwards, I'm so confused. They say freedom of speech, but when you speak your mind, they blow a fuse. Just being honest, common sense and common, it's kind of ironic. My freedom, I recently bought it, now I'm a target if I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing. Come on, man, let freedom ring. Yeah. United States become divided states. The world is filled with all kinds of shades, and still resegregate. Parents separate from the children, that's not okay. We should be free to laugh and play. Do it now, before you pass away. Fight for what's right, enough for everybody to get a piece of the pie. Brainwash, social media, full of lies. Go to work, pay bills, then you die. Need a breakaway, guns, get rid of the AKs. Our ancestors paved way since the slave days, but we still hurting. Carry that burden. Stop playing victim, beat the system. Love is love, it should be shown. Can't grow unless you leave your comfort zone. This I know, I learned all this from the mentorship. Kids don't know what independent is. Take advantage what your parents did. Go against the grid, you have to. Like going to the bathroom, learn the right songs. Cause of Matthew, liberty like statue. They call now the present, cause it's a gift. It should be cherished, last name fearless, not Harris. All thanks to my parents' parents. Now, love the last name every time that I hear it, cause I know what it represents. Climb the fence, so now I got freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing. Freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing.
left upon my chest, I'll attest. I don't really wanna forget to forget you. Taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. There's too much sky, too blue, too white. The birds on the wire are singing, but I don't know why. Why aren't the roses hanging their heads? They're standing straight up, blooming instead. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Why does that guy have a smile on his face? Why is the sun even shining today? Why are the headlines talking about love? Don't they all know what happened to us? Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. Now that we're apart, there's nothing. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Blood in my heart. Blood in my heart.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we're joined by Colorado Martini. Welcome back, you guys, and thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having us.
So we left off, and I didn't want to interrupt you because it sounded like it was really a big experience on a certain topic. I can't think, even though I took my mental supplements, which hotel it was.
Oh, we were talking about Cheeseman Park.
Yeah, Cheeseman Park.
Big city park in Denver.
So I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Cheeseman Park, but Cheeseman Park is a very large, beautiful park in the middle of downtown Denver. It's got a beautiful view of the city. You can see the Capitol building from it. It's gorgeous. And one half of it is our Denver Botanical Gardens, which are huge also. And so the area has these beautiful old mansions that surround it, just Gothic. You can just tell that, these people were very wealthy in their day and still are. They're still expensive mansions. But this park and the Denver Botanical Gardens and Congress Park across the way, which is a baseball field, I think it is, and the surrounding area was the original Denver cemetery, and it was called Prospect Hill. And it was first became a cemetery around the 1860s. And it had, different factions to it. It had the Odd Fellows, and it, had the Masons, and then it had religious factions, and it had ethnic factions where it had a Chinese section and a Jewish section and a Catholic section. And then it started getting haphazard, where because you had all these different factions, those factions stopped taking care of their part of the cemetery. And there was kind of like no law and order to the cemetery. And people were just kind of saying, oh, that's a nice tree. Let's go bury Uncle Bob under it. And so there was no rows and sections, like in today's cemeteries are. And it fell into disrepair because of this, because there was no one organization taking care of the area. And the area became, in the late 1800s, became a desirable area to build these mansions. And so people started building all these beautiful mansions around the park. And they wanted the cemetery gone, because not only was it a cemetery, but it was an eyesore because it wasn't being taken care of. And so they wanted it gone, and they wanted it to become a park. So they gave everybody a very short amount of time, like 90 days, to come get their loved ones, and to dig them up and move them, mostly to Riverside Cemetery. That was the only other cemetery at the time. And but a lot of these people didn't know. There were a lot of people that were unclaimed. They didn't know where the bodies were because there was no organization. Headstones were gone. A lot of times it was just wood, and the wood was gone. So a lot of people were left behind. So the city hired a guy to dig these people up and move them. And what did he get? He got a certain amount of money.
Yeah, he got just under $1 a body. They were providing a new coffin for the exhumed body and relocating it to a different cemetery. So all that for $1. So sounds like a hell of a deal.
That's a pretty good deal. Yeah.
So
You can't beat that
City
with a
contract,
stick.
though, you know how that goes.
but because he was getting paid per the body, he was breaking up the bodies. And
I saw that.
Different bones of people into different coffins to make up
Tiny
one
ones.
coffin.
And to add insult to that, there was either a coffin shortage or the children's coffins were cheaper. So he would buy the smaller coffins and basically chop the body in half, fold it up in half, and put it in a smaller coffin. Well, he was going along at it pretty good until the local newspaper decided to come out and do a run on the story. And when they got there, there was all these dismembered bodies laying around on the ground. Needless to say, the next day he was in jail.
Yeah, it was horrible. So
I saw a video on that as well where he was doing that, and it's what you said. The coffins were cheaper for kids' coffins, but they'd still charge the city or government or whatever for the adult ones. So they were, like you said, chopping them up. And there was this one point where he had actually taken a war medal off of one of the corpses because they were taking all the jewelry, everything, like making as much money as they could off of this horrific thing that was happening. And he was being haunted towards the end. Who knows what happened to him in jail if that spirit followed him, but it was pretty pissed off that he stole that medal and was going to make him pay for it.
I actually hadn't heard that before. That's it. And so you read that he was haunted? I hadn't heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, he had taken this medal, and you know how they'd write in their journals every day, like good little boys. And that medal was sitting there, and then all of a sudden it disappeared, and he couldn't find it anywhere. And when he was looking for it, that spirit appeared before him and kept messing with him, like taking different objects and appearing and doing different things. And then, like you said, he got arrested or whatnot. So I don't know what happened after that, because he probably didn't keep a journal anymore. But it's pretty intriguing.
Wow.
Karma's a bitch, isn't it?
Especially when you get to watch it. But yeah, she's a bitch. I love her for it. I appreciate her for being her.
Well, after that, the city just stopped exhuming bodies. They just halted the whole thing and built the park over the bodies that were left. And so it's estimated that there's over 2,000 bodies left behind. And to be honest with you, I have followed this story and I've done so many videos on the area that I think there's a lot more.
I think they're closer to 3 at this point, 3,000.
Every time they build something or, put in a new sprinkler system, they find remains, or they find pieces of coffin, the handles, or they find, things that belong to the person. Like I said, people were just haphazardly burying people everywhere.
Yeah, it's the kind of place you don't let your dog go digging,
Yeah.
He starts running off with a spine. You're like, come back, buddy. Come back.
In fact, in my original video, I have a picture of a dog with like an arm.
You guys were talking about Halloween earlier and your appreciation for it, and that's my favorite holiday. Christmas, all that other stuff goes behind it, and I will dress up for Halloween until the day I die. I think I missed 1 year of dressing up, and I really regretted it. But having the leg or the arm sticking out of the trunk skit, like, I always appreciate that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, matter of fact, we haven't in a long time. We have like this really creepy witch on a stake that we put out. Like, we built it this ourselves.
We do our own witch burning.
Yeah.
It's true.
And this really looks like a witch, and that this is after the burning, and she's still there on the stake. And then we have a Salem city sign that we put out, with old wood, and it says population 50, and then it's crossed out. 49, then it's crossed out.
38.
So you got to throw the humor in there, So misbehaving's always buried in the graveyard. And,
Misbehaving. She was one of my favorites.
Misbehaving, yeah.
But no, we don't have the parties anymore, but we do a haunted garage for the neighborhood kids, and that's pretty popular. We get quite a few people come in for that. But this year, I don't think that's happening because everything's going on. So who knows what's happening with Halloween.
Damn you, COVID-19.
You're
ruining our lives. We were doing a Halloween event where we're going to have a trunk or treat instead of trick or treat. So everybody lines their cars or trucks or whatever up, and you can decorate it and have your candy and whatnot and hand out candy to the kids. That way they score like really quickly. You can go home and do whatever you want. But like you said, it's messing everything up.
I'm working on this new invention. It's kind of a twist on the Nerf gun, where you can actually shoot the little bastards with candy.
Yeah, Snickers.
They come by, you don't even let them in the driveway. You just pelt them with the candy. Hold up your bag, and then you shoot them in the kneecap.
Ow! I'm never gonna have kids, mister.
And Butterfinger.
Now get off my lawn.
My dad, he used to have Halloween parties, and they'd get pretty crazy, but I remember he changed all the lights to red lights, and this one particular year, he dressed up as the devil, and he's a pretty big guy. He's like 6 foot whatever, very broad, and he'd answer the door and be like, "Welcome to hell," and the kids would be like, "Ah!" and run away. And so he didn't give out very much candy that year, but I remember those parties. Like, they were so much fun, and I shouldn't have appreciated them, but just seeing adults act like that, I don't know, it was entertaining. And the kids running away, I'm like, man, do it again, Dad.
When we first started our Halloween stuff, we were newly married, and all our kids weren't born yet, but our nephews were. And, they were trick-or-treat age, and, they were like in elementary school. Anyway, so they asked us we always dressed up and stuff and always were into Halloween, so they asked us to put on a haunted house at their house. So we did. And I was this witch that greeted them, and then Pat did the other part. And my brother-in-law thought it'd be really funny to just, like, get me really drunk as I was, giving out candy. And I was, like, so in character of this witch. And
well, she has the bubbling cauldron in front of her, with the dry ice, and you got to set the stage there.
As the
full makeup, latex nose.
As the kids are coming
Sweating
in
profusely.
and stuff, and oh my God, and I would do this, like, I have this witch's laugh that is like my superpower, and these kids are all in their 30s now, and still to this day.
Do the laugh, Mustafa.
They make me do the laugh and tell me how I scared the shit out of them when they were little, and they still talk about it after all these years, and they're in their 30s. I even did a video on the whole thing when I did the Blair Witch skit. I have a video that I did back in 2018, talking about my witch's laugh and our Halloween parties, and with my girls, I did a Blair Witch skit, and it was like one of my first videos. It's not even in high definition, and it's basically me trying to get away from the kids, and it's pretty cute. You'll have to look it up. It's one of our first video of it's like, God, I want to say it was in 2018 or something like that. It's called Blair Witch Mom. And but yeah, these kids are in their 30s, their mid 30s, and they still,
I remember when you scared the hell out of me. Good. I meant for you to remember.
Yeah. It's good for you.
What good is torment if you forget it the next day?
You did your job right there.
But yeah,
I mean, it's also funny how it desensitized our children because, we'd get around Halloween, we'd have the whole house done up for the party. My daughter would bring home a friend who would go I need to go to the bathroom. Well, first, let me warn you, there's a dead body in the tub. When you sit on the toilet, the music starts playing. And they're like, how do you get up in the middle of the night and go potty? She goes, I usually have to turn on the light.
And you will not die in 7 days. Oh, that was so funny. We got this.
But they all grew up to love horror movies. I mean, nothing scares them.
Oh, they're fighting over who's getting the Halloween stuff too.
I told them I'm going to get buried in the casket.
So, well, the casket we used for the beer cooler.
The first year was a beer cooler. So when you came up, you had to get your beer out of the casket.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And then it slowly made its way into props.
And we do a full-on Frankenstein, and we have the full Frankenstein laboratory and everything.
Thank you, Universal Studios.
Yes, yeah. I mean we have an alien autopsy and everything where the kids come up and can touch these like little mini smooshy organs and stuff. So, yeah, we're the haunted garage nowadays. So, and then I don't dress up because I don't want to scare the little kids anymore because I marred so many 30-year-olds that.
It made them stronger. Keep it up.
What doesn't kill us makes us bitter?
Yeah.
Oh,
Could be.
I'm sorry.
Bitter,
Here,
stronger. There's different outcomes.
So let me see if I can still do the witch's laugh.
You want a glass of water first?
No, I could probably do
me,
it.
Me. Warm up. None of that shit. I don't know. You blew that one. You might want to try again.
I'm getting old.
I was
I was
convinced.
teasing it. I'm
Yeah.
scared.
But you have to watch
Inside.
Blair Witch, Mom. It's a cute
Inside.
video. But that's when we started doing the paranormal and kind of haunted type stuff.
Yeah, she's a real trooper. It's hard to get a woman who'll lay on a grave and say Bloody Mary 3 times.
Oh my God, that was so funny. Okay, we're at the Abbey in Canyon City. Okay. And we're upstairs, and this 4th floor, it was the boys' dormitory, and it's supposed to be like super, super haunted. Okay, matter of fact, we got a lot, the 303 Paranormal got a lot of EVPs.
So we're walking around this dormitory that was for, boys. And I walk into this bathroom, and there's all these urinals and all these mirrors, and the first thing that popped in my head was, hey, it'd be a great place to do a Bloody Mary. I'll let you finish the story.
So one of the team individuals from 303 Paranormal's on one side of the hall, and I'm on the other side.
They're doing their serious investigation.
Yeah, and we're filming, as Drew from 303 Paranormal's doing all the questioning with the REM pod and stuff. And so we're very serious. Drew's the only one talking. And all of a sudden we hear behind us, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And John and I look at each other, and we knew it was Patrick, because that's what Patrick does on an investigation. And oh my God, I was laughing so hard. It just was so unexpected. And it's this like open air bathroom, and Mary's standing there in front of a mirror, totally serious.
It didn't work, by the way. Yeah, I was very disappointed. Think of all damn places.
Did you go in
You've
circles?
Got this haunted monastery in this prison town, and I don't understand why it didn't work.
Yeah, that night was funny. And then we went into the dorms, this other building that's supposed to be very haunted, and we're following the group, and they're all going up the stairs. And our group, 303 Paranormal, and the guy who I was talking about is the kind of the resident. Dennis is the resident paranormal investigator. He actually stays on the property and does
/ caretaker.
Yeah, I don't know if he does any caretaking, but he actually watches over the property. He does a lot of paranormal investigation while he's there.
Is he creepy?
And anyways. So I guess in front of us, he says, come here, I want to show you something. So I'm way in the back, and so I don't know what's going on. I'm just following everybody. Next thing I know, we're in a haunted house. I mean,
a made-up haunted house.
A made-it-up haunted house, like 13th floor. I'm like, what the frick? There's dead body parts everywhere, severed heads. Yeah, and I was like, what?
We're basically walking at a good pace through this haunted house because the guy says, hey, I want to show you something. We thought he was going to take us to this really cool place to do an investigation. But hell no, we end up in a haunted house with all these props. It's like 3 a.m, and we're walking at a fast pace through this haunted house. It was a little bizarre.
It was the most, and you can hear me on the tape going, this is the most bizarre paranormal investigation I've ever been on. I'm in a haunted house. How did I end up in a haunted house? And then all of a sudden the person who's leading us, who is it, Scott, goes, Dennis is gone. What happened to Dennis? Okay, so
he ditched us.
We're in this maze of a haunted house.
Yeah, there's no way in hell you'd find your way out. There was hidden doors all built in for the staff to move around.
And hidden walls and stuff.
Yeah, so you'd move one wall, it covered the door, and the place was a trip.
And Dennis disappears. He's the only one that can get us out of here, okay? And we're all filming at the same time.
Yeah, we're fresh out of breadcrumbs.
So we're trying to figure our way out. And all of a sudden, John from 303 Paranormal, he's right in front of me. All of a sudden, this hand comes out of a hole in front of John and his dentist to scare the shit out of John.
And it worked.
His ass.
I thought he'd fainted. He hit the ground so quick. I'm like, man, is he all right?
Did he pee his
And
pants?
and it's pitch dark. Thank God for IR cameras. And I got the whole thing on my IR camera, this hand coming out and John hitting the floor. Oh my God. It's like, it was
So,
like 3 in the morning.
So the thing he wanted to show us was the haunted house and the fact that John can't be startled.
But it was
Or
funny.
can
It was,
he?
it was funny.
We finally met back up with the group. Yeah, one of my favorite questions to ask a spirit is if they miss their animals. So it's kind of weird because I love animals, especially dogs. And not being a spirit, if I was stuck in a place or wasn't able to leave a place, I'd be really pissed if I didn't have my dog with me. So there'll be a lot of serious questions floating around. Are you a boy? Are you a girl? Did you live here? Did you die here? And then Mr. Martini had the blue go, do you miss your dog?
He'll ask these like bizarre
And the look
Hell
on people's
yeah, I do.
faces, it's like, where the hell did that come from? Hey, it's a legit question. I want an answer. That's something I need to know about the world beyond. Are there pets there, damn it? Come on.
I do think pets go to heaven.
It was-
I'm going to have a lot
All
of pets
good
on the
dogs
other
do.
side.
I'm pretty sure I've been visited by 2 of my pets. One was my cat, who we had for years and years and years.
Is that what that smell in the corner was?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he came in the middle of the night and laid down. He laid down on my legs, and then when I turned over, he like cuddled up in into the curvature of my legs, and then he was gone. And then I actually talk about this on one of our videos in New Mexico. We were filming around New Mexico, and we had to put one of our dogs down right on that trip. She had fallen out of the back of the car.
She jumped.
She jumped out of the car.
She thought she was still a puppy.
She was really old, and we thought this was her last to do, and we couldn't, we had to take her with us, and because we normally wouldn't travel with her because she was so old, but this time we had to take her with us because we were leaving. We were going to be gone for a long time. Anyway, she passed on this trip, and in Santa Fe, and then we went on the trip and went to these other places, Roswell and stuff. And at the last leg of our trip, we stayed in the Plaza Hotel, which we filmed. We have a video on of the things that we caught there. And in the middle of the night, something woke me up, and it felt like a dog's nose pushing down between my feet. Like she was at the edge of the bed and pushing down in between my feet, letting me know she was there. And, and it woke up our other dog, because the other dog, lifted his head up and was looking at me. And I actually thought it was the other dog, but I looked over and he was on his bed. So I feel like I've had animals twice visit me right after they passed, and then they left, like they were saying goodbye. Excuse me. So yeah, I feel that the pets are in the spirit world, and I don't want them hanging out. I want them to move on. Just like you would any loved one.
It's interesting, though, how many spirits of animals are picked up. I never thought about it, even though I had paranormal experiences all throughout my life. I never thought about spirit animals. I thought about my pets that died and, thought they went to heaven, so on and so forth. But a first experience was in 3 shacks that were put together to make one house from Mesa Verde. And I was standing by the furnace one day trying to get warm, and I went to step to the left to go tend to my daughter, and I almost stepped on this black cat, which I had no pets at the time. And I looked everywhere for it, couldn't find it. Again, saw it in the kitchen, run into the living room, jumped behind the couch, looked everywhere, couldn't find it. So that was my first with an animal. And then the second one, besides skinwalkers, was a deer. You could see the first portion of the deer running across the road, and then the second portion was just like a streak of the color of the deer, plus the light around it. It was pretty interesting.
Wow. So tell me more about the spirit walkers.
Oh, skinwalkers?
Skinwalkers, I'm sorry. Getting late for me.
I'm sorry to keep you up. But it's basically native magic. Navajos have them. I've learned that other tribes do as well, but originally I learned about the Navajo, and they can take form of basically any animal. A lot of times they prefer, I want to say prairie wolves, but coyotes. So I've seen them in coyote form. The second time I saw one, we were driving to Phoenix from Bayfield, so we had to go through Cortez and such to get down there. But we're talking to the kids, and we're like, hey, don't be bored. Like, look out for different things. You could find a skinwalker. You could see this or that. And all of a sudden, we see this red and white truck on the side of the road, and the doors are open. The interior lights are on, and you don't see anybody around it. And then about 50 yards down the road, you see this woman, and she's about almost 6 foot tall. Like, she could be 6 foot tall. Long blonde hair, a striped shirt. At first, we thought she was pregnant, but then the closer we got to her, it looked like she freaking ate somebody. Like, her pants were popped open, her shirt was up. It was abnormal. And her arms were below her knees. Like, her hands were, like, in her mid-calf section. I saw her looking the other direction, and I think I turned around to see if the kids saw it or if Vern is seeing what I'm seeing. He saw the face. I didn't. But, yeah, it was pretty freaky. He's like, do you want to turn around? I'm like, no, I'm good. Let's keep going.
You didn't stop to see if she needed anything?
No. She looked like she had enough food and whatever for quite a while.
She's probably waiting on a man to pick her up anyway. You know?
Creepy.
That would be freaky. Yeah, that is
That's
freaky.
a succubus, isn't it?
What, the succubus?
Yeah, waiting on a man to pick her up.
Yeah, succubus, incubus. There's so many crazy things out there, and a lot of people don't realize it or recognize it, but so many of us witness it, and it's like, I don't know, for me, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't. You can't. No. You know, it's... Have you, it's I don't know that much about elementals, but somebody was saying that maybe that's what those black orbs were in the Bullock Hotel.
I had wondered about that because I've seen different orbs with my eye. For the most part, I get them on camera, but I've seen a white one fly by when my oldest daughter, she's 20 now, but she was, I think, 16 at the time, and she was doing high jump practice. So the sun's going down, and all of a sudden this white orb flies between me and her at a very quick rate of speed. So that was the first time I saw an orb. I was out at my friend's house, and I saw, like you said, a darker orb. It was almost black, but it was like more of a brown color, and you could just see it like moving around. And that, I heard, is like a earthbound spirit, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I just am like been trying to find an explanation for those orbs. Well, matter of fact, I was picking up orbs like that from the Connect in Cheeseman Park, and at the time I didn't know what they were, and I wrote them off as bugs because we were outdoors, and so they could have been anything. The environment wasn't as controlled. Excuse me. So. I have water, thank you. So yeah, I would love, for anybody ideas about what those are. I actually want to go back and see if we get them again, because if we didn't get those orbs again, then it actually concretes the first evidence. Because if you go at, you know what I'm saying? It's if it happened when we were there and it doesn't happen again, then it proves to me that it's nothing in the environment.
I think that shit happens there every night.
Yeah, matter of fact, the people of the Bullock Hotel were surprised that we didn't catch more than we did. That they are constantly getting touched. and normally I always feel spirits and I feel their presence, and I was actually not feeling that much the whole time I was there. And they were really surprised because everybody that works there has a story to tell.
Yeah, I got an angry voice that said one word to me, trying to provoke a reaction. I started whistling Dixie downstairs, and the one word that I got was burn.
Yeah, the first one you did was from The Wizard of Oz, and then you did Dixie, and she's like, "What do you think about that? Like, you could like it, but if you were on the other side, you might not." And then that's when it was like, burn.
Yeah, when I heard that on the evidence, I was like, "Oh wow," because this Deadwood started in 1876, and
it was full of people from both sides.
Yeah, the war was still fresh in people's minds, and it actually had a lot of people came from the South because the South was so decimated that they came to the gold fields to try to rebuild their lives. And so this was only 10 years after the war, and there was still a lot of bitter feelings.
It's obviously still fresh in someone's mind.
Yeah.
What really freaks me out is the people that didn't know the war was over and they kept fighting when they didn't have to. Like, to me, that's insane. These poor guys are still out there.
Refused to admit the war was over.
That what?
Yeah.
A lot of them refused to admit the war was over.
You still do.
Or they didn't get word. Like, a lot of them didn't want to be there anymore, and had they gotten word, they would have gone home, but they didn't. Like, they were the forgotten tribe or whatever. Like, poor guys. That would be my luck.
Yeah, do you ever see the Gilligan Island episode where the Japanese soldier they come across on the island thinks World War II still going on? Oh, my. Yeah, it would go something like that.
You're aging yourself.
No, I saw reruns, man.
You don't know how many times I get that song stuck in my head, and you have to listen to it in order for it to go away, and sometimes multiple times. But yeah, there's a way to get that out of your head.
You know that scene where they're going out on the 3-hour tour in the beginning that shows the boat, the jetties? That's actually my hometown.
Yeah, that's California. That's not Hawaii.
No, it's not Hawaii. It was my hometown.
So you should have been the Marianne.
Yeah, I'd have to watch a Burt Reynolds movie to find my old hometown. He's usually driving a fast car through it.
Don't blink, you might miss it. So I
what
was amazed to hear
the
that.
Places that you have investigated.
Ooh, okay. So have you guys ever been to Durango or Silverton, Colorado, or Cortez?
Of course.
Oh my God, I have so much footage on Durango I haven't put out yet, and Silverton. Not paranormal.
Railroad.
More railroad stuff in
Love
the
the
town.
Silverton Railroad.
You guys, the Railroad Museum is so haunted. It's insane. So you were talking earlier about morning investigations, and I am totally anti-morning. I am a nocturnal being, and anybody says morning to me, I'll hiss at them. But so we go for this preliminary investigation, and I'm like, okay, I'll go for that. I'll wake up for that. We got so much evidence, and it was on an app, and it was Ghost Radar Legacy. So I put that in the car, and then we set up different equipment, and we go out into the museum and set up other equipment because there's legs, a guy that got his legs cut off, and sometimes they see the lower portion, sometimes they see the upper portion. Then there's a couple that sits in the seats waiting for the train. And then there's Emmy, which the museum curator first thought was this older spirit, but we found out that day her name was Kate Johnson. Turns out, well, the information we got was Kate Johnson, Walter Intention Death, Sharp Tool. And my listeners probably like, oh God, I've heard this a million times. But we gave that to the museum curator. He looked it up. She was a prostitute, aka Soiled Dove, from Alamosa. She fell in love with a firefighter. He took her on the train that he was working fires from to elope and get married somewhere else. Being she was a working girl, the brakeman, Walter, found them together. A fight ensued, and he stabbed the firefighter to death. Kate was raised Catholic, and she believed in purgatory. So after her fiancé died, she moved to California, ended up killing herself, and then was stuck on the immigrant car since the late 1800s. And it was amazing the feelings you'd feel going up the stairs, and then in the first portion of the quarters, and then throughout the thing, like, you had so many different feelings and emotions. It was insane. It was the most active spirit that I'd ever witnessed since I was a kid. Like, earlier when I was like 5 or 6, that was my major one. But yeah, it was amazing. A Catholic school class came in, said a prayer of release from purgatory, and she was gone for 3 months, but she came back for Emmy to help her escape Walter, because he's there too. I will send you guys some pictures, probably on the next break, of Walter and Kate and Emmy. But yeah, he was getting involved in when okay, Kate's gone, so let's see what Emmy's story is. And we talked to her, and then he'd come in and cuss and belittle her and who knows what else to her, and she'd leave, and he'd stay there for a while to abuse us, and then he'd leave. But yeah, he reminds me of the Joker. The way he looks is really trippy.
Is this inside the roundhouse, or are these the cars that are out on the track?
It's in the museum.
So, okay, the roundhouse, with the old roundhouse.
Yeah, they've got the different cabooses or trains in there, and then they have in the very back the immigrant car, and then next to that is the cinema car, and then different like World War I, World War II things. But yeah, it's pretty intriguing.
Are any of the cars that go up to Silverton considered haunted?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. I'm still focused on the museum. But I imagine
it's a really cool museum.
Yeah, we've stayed in the Slater. Is it Slater?
Strader
and the Palmer. What's that?
General
Colonel
Palmer.
Palmer.
Yeah, the
General Palmer.
Yeah.
Damn it! Don't call me a colonel.
Yeah.
I'm a general, damn it.
When we stayed in the General
Well,
Palmer,
I thought it might be an honorary, kind of like Colonel Sanders. I'm sure he wasn't a real colonel.
He wasn't. It's a Kentucky thing.
It's a Southern thing, man.
No, it's a Kentucky thing where you call colonels.
Just like Newport's a comrade.
Not comrade. That's Russia.
Describe comrade.
Now I can't say it.
I totally
Commodore.
A Commodore.
Commodore.
What the hell is a Commodore?
Yeah,
It's a
There
bird.
was a band, the Commodores.
Yeah, where I come from, in the yacht clubs, the people that
In the
they're
yacht
like
club.
places of honor.
I'm a
the
Commodore.
Commodore.
Yeah. Does that carry any specific
Burnett.
privileges with that, or
Yeah, you get to drink in the bar for free.
you get a free? Get to wear a special hat. They do wear a special hat. I've seen that shit. Anyway, we got away from the Colonel and the Palmer.
Well, the General Palmer, right? Is the General Palmer house?
I think so.
Yeah, this was before we were YouTubers when we stayed there, and we stayed in this room, and I was not comfortable the whole time I was there. I mean, I felt like just very uneasy, and anytime I feel uneasy and uncomfortable, there's usually something there. Mm-hmm. But we didn't have any equipment back then, and we weren't there for paranormal reasons. And I usually, anytime I've had those feelings, I've always kind of kept them to myself until we started doing all this. And because I got to a point where it's like, I need to prove something's really happening to me. But yeah, there was that room. They had that separate building from the main building that has the rooms, and it was upstairs, and it was the most bizarrely laid out room. And I felt uncomfortable the whole time I was there.
You're probably haunted by an architect or mathematician that just couldn't figure out that damn floor plan.
Well, you guys were talking earlier about the woman in white, and this is where one of those is, and supposedly she was supposed to get married, got stood up, whatever. She hung herself in her white nightgown in one of the rooms, I think on the second floor. So supposedly she is known to be there. The other only known haunting that I know of is from the gunfight in front of the General Palmer. Otherwise, there wasn't really a lot of activity there. But it's so beautiful and intriguing. There's a lot of energy.
Is she seen in the main building or this auxiliary building?
I think the back building came into play later. It wasn't part of the main building. It wasn't brick like the other building was.
Yeah, it's the one that, you know what the building I'm talking about, the one that's separate from the main
It's
building?
like behind
not
it.
as nice either,
Yeah.
I might add.
It's on the other
Yeah,
side.
it's just like an afterthought. You're like,
Yeah.
"Geez, thanks."
Looks like they bought a smaller place.
But no,
I
it's
don't
an
know.
old building though. It's an old building and it's by the depot. It's the building that's right next to the depot. And yeah, I didn't feel comfortable the whole time we were in there. So.
I didn't either, but I had indigestion from those damn sweet rolls we got from the corner bakery down there. Those were so good.
You ate too many?
Yeah, one's too many for me.
Well, other than the General Palmer, like I've heard more about the Strader than the General Palmer.
We
Another
stayed
woman,
there. It was beautiful.
a little boy on a tricycle. You can hear the squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. But I've also heard that could be the Johnson building and not the Strader. So it's like lore and what you guys were talking about, like digging in and finding out what's actually going on instead of just going along with the whole fairy tale. But it's always fun, for sure.
Well, there's so many stories that it's like telephone. You know, people tell the story and then it goes into a different story and it just gets warped and things get attached onto it.
After a while, it's urban legend.
It's urban legend and
myth.
you know, you know, and it's like you just want to get to the truth. Who was this really? Was there really somebody? Is there any record ever? You know, or is this just some story the hotel's telling to bring in customers? You know, I think most hotels, these older hotels, are haunted. I probably one of the most haunted places I've been to though is Galveston. That place.
Yeah, and that's
oh
where
my
you had your
God.
very first paranormal experience, right?
Well, that was the first place. I've had paranormal experiences my
More
whole
of a
life.
confirmation.
It was more of a confirmation for me, but you know, saying that publicly in a video, you know, is kind of hard to say. But so that's why I said, you know, I felt my first ghost. It was more like I felt the first thing that confirmed that that's what has been happening to me over the years, and it was probably the most intense attachment I've ever had. I mean, they were definitely trying to show me how they felt, the dread that they felt. And I mean, they were literally attaching that feeling onto me. And it came on so quickly. I mean, you've seen the video where we're cracking up and we're laughing, you know, and stuff out in the hallway. Literally an hour later, the dread came in.
Yeah, man, it's not very often you're in a city where the whole city was wiped out. Everyone.
Yeah, and the pictures you showed in that
missing,
video was awesome. It helped you to see that.
Yeah.
And people
and
trying
those
to
are-
dig it out.
Those videos, those are some of the first Edison videos there ever was after that hurricane. And I have pictures where there's bodies in the rubble, and you see the arms hanging out and the legs hanging out and stuff. And I chose not to put those in the video. You know, I didn't.
Yeah, the National Guard, or actually the military, showed up and forced the remaining people at gunpoint with bayonets to pick up the dead. So if you got to survive this wonderful storm, you were then for the next 3 to 4 days or weeks, whatever it took, to basically round up your townspeople. Yeah, terrible story. You know, there's certain cities that just, when you're walking around the city, you feel and know you're on hollow ground. Savannah, Georgia is a good example of that. New Orleans, a good example of that. There's just certain towns where there's been so much death that the spirits are everywhere. And Galveston definitely ranks in there. It's an amazing town.
I mean, everywhere from, its past goes all the way back to Native American stories that
The pirates, John Lafitte.
John Lafitte, it's having the Native Americans as slaves and
He would kill all the men and keep the women and children as their slaves. And basically had their pirate camp out of Galveston Island.
There was a Civil War battle there, and the Galveston battle, they called it, and then the hurricane of 1900, and then Ike. I don't know if anybody died in Ike, but it was major destruction. But there's still the body count for the 1900 hurricane is still going up, because as the internet gets stronger and stronger and databases get stronger, and stories start getting, put into databases of missing people, they realize, as time goes on, the body count keeps going up. And here we are in 2020, and we're still counting the dead of 1900.
They're saying 12,000 plus people died
12,000
in one incident.
Yeah, plus. And so that's why when you look at documentation on this hurricane, how many people died, you get kind of variance in numbers. And that's why, because the body count keeps going up. But yeah, I was real shocked when I put pieces together and found out that my grandparents, my great, what was it? My two times grandparents, great grandparents were in that hurricane
and survived.
Well, I was, I do a lot of family.
2 kids.
Yeah, with two. Well, one there was their grandkid. One it was their grandchildren. Because my great grandparents were too old to have children, and I was like, okay, who are these people? And I was trying to figure out who were the children and everything, and I figured out one was they were cousins of each other. So one was visiting from Missouri, and one of the grandchildren, and the other one lived with the grandparents and his parents. But they weren't in the house at the time. So the whole family lived together. But it was kind of, I knew years ago when I was doing family investigation, I saw in the census that my grandparents and family went to, a small portion of them went from Kansas down to Galveston. And I was like, what the heck were they doing in Galveston? And I couldn't figure it out.
Come down, enjoy the deluge.
and then in books in Kansas historic books, my grandfather being quoted at 12 years old about how, his grandmother survived the deluge. And so I was thinking, oh, there must have been a big flood in Kansas or something. And then years later, when I was investigating Galveston and the flood, the light bulb went on in my head, and I went, oh my God, they were there. The census is always every 10 years. 1900 was a census year. They were there for that hurricane.
And the whole story, too, where they got onto the roof, and then the roof separated, and the father and one child was here, and the mother and one child was here. And for one of them, one of the kids fell off, but later on they were all reunited. Everybody was safe. That was a very awesome, good outcome to a very scary story.
And it's just, I can't believe that my grandfather never told me the story, because he obviously knew the story because he was quoted in this Kansas historic book when he was 12 about it. And it was like, why didn't he ever tell me this story? And, but yeah, it was really awesome when it took me years to put pieces together. And when I saw that passage about them being on the roof and everything, I was just like, so these spirits that attached on to me, maybe they were my grandparents. Maybe they were the people that were in that building, that were held up in that building during the hurricane. I don't know. But somebody was trying to show me the heartache that they felt at the time, the pain that they felt.
Yeah, the building we were staying in was one of the survivors. When you walk through the city of Galveston, any of the concrete buildings that are 2 or 3 or 4 stories tall will usually have a plaque on them which says survivor of the 1900 hurricane. The building we were staying in was one of those survivors. And of course, after the deluge, these buildings were often used to house the dead until they were identified and properly disposed of. Many were never identified, and many were never really disposed of. They actually took a lot of the bodies and put them on a ship and barge and thought sending it out in the ocean and sinking it would work. 2 days later, all the bodies showed back up on the beach.
Oh no!
So they had to deal with that.
So they had to pile them all together and burn them and burn the bodies. So the beaches are supposed to be very, very haunted because it was just riddled with bodies of the dead.
Yeah, sometimes people seem to stay connected to the body, and sometimes people just leave. But could you imagine, like, seeing the whole process and then the final way they did it? I don't know. That could be traumatic and cause a spirit to be angry. I could see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, Galveston is.
It's definitely a good haunted city.
You could spend years there and never get all your investigation in. It's very overwhelming. So, but yeah, that's probably the worst attachment I've had. And then the other one was in the other bad one was in Cheeseman Park.
So did this attachment come home with you, or?
I don't think that they do, but the energy is still there.
You were talking about the jet lag sort of thing.
Yeah, it takes me days to recover. I kind of have bad dreams for days, and I don't think anything evil has ever attached on me. I'm not a.
We try forbidding them to come home with us.
Yeah.
We don't know if that really works or not, but hey, it's worth a shot.
But I think the energy lingers.
I always thought that worked, but recently I saw a video where they're saying, okay, you can't attach to us, our cameras, or any of our equipment. And the spirit kind of laughed and was like, okay, yeah, right. Whatever you say, buddy. And so it made me think,
I'm like, you come home with me, I'll make you a miserable son of a bitch. You're better off staying where you're at. You don't want to live with me. I'm a grumpy old bastard.
Yeah, my attachments generally don't last too long. But on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our second music break with Michaelan Hay from Ontario, Canada with Gravity, Pins and Needles, Close, as well as Collapse. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Signs leave behind for you to find. Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, up, up. Talking about, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, up, up. Talking about, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, up, up. Talking about, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, 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 up. Saw you for the first time in a while, in a while. You seemed so surprised, I worked out a smile, out a smile, out a smile. 'Cause I've grown and I've changed, yeah, we went separate ways. How come we're both back here? 'Cause you pushed me away, let my life rearrange, but still we're both back here. Close to me, I want you close to me. I can see that you wanted me. Follow me, baby, just follow Where'd you go? You're running away. I know that it ain't easy. I see you're losing your mind. You're pushing away. Yeah, it's a mistake. Yeah, it's a making me check my phone to see if you called. I know I'll get nothing at all. I carry the weight of both you and me. I'm starting to break. I wish you could see what you're doing to me. What you do. Yeah, we're going too fast, 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 fast. Get your foot off the gas, 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 gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Yeah, we're going too fast, 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 fast. Get your foot off the gas, 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 gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Slap, 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 slap. When we always collapse. When we always collapse. Throw me off of my game again. Never thought I would bend. You're making me soft. I'm starting to slip. You don't give a shit. It's starting to hurt. I can't keep my grip. Yeah. Oh, I can see the end begin. I can see. Yeah, we're going too fast, 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 fast. Get your foot off the gas, 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 gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Slap, 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 slap. Yeah, we're going too fast, 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 fast. Get your foot off the gas, 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 gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Slap, 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 slap. When we always collapse. Oh, I can see the end begin. When we always collapse. Oh, I can see the end begin.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we're joined by Colorado Martini. We have Patrick, and holy shnikes, I'm so bad with names. What is your name again? Maria? I keep thinking Martha, but that was a spirit from your show earlier.
No, it's Martini, Mrs. Martini.
Mrs. Martini.
Denise and Patrick.
Denise and Patrick. Okay, got it. Man, we were talking about the world around us today, and we're trying to keep off that, but it is very serious, and we're all making different decisions for our own lifestyles, and I just hope you guys use your common sense and stay safe and keep your family safe. All right, so where would you like to pick up? This is your show. What would you like to share with our fans? I'm wondering, what was the event that you experienced during an investigation or just being at a certain place that really let you know that the paranormal or ghosts on the other side do exist?
Well, I don't think it was an investigation. I mean, I've just always felt that they have. I've just always been a believer since I was young, and I think you have too. I know what story you're going to tell.
No, you don't. You have no idea.
The pool
I don't
table.
even know
The
what
pool table story.
I'm gonna tell.
The pool table story.
The pool table story.
It's like, But I think that the most confirmational moment for me was in Galveston with the dread, because it was just the first time that I knew the backstory so well. I knew where I was and what was going on, and I knew that it wasn't psychosomatic, that this was really real, and that I had never felt that way in my entire life. And so it was very confirmational for me at that moment, and that was, why I said this was, first time I had my first paranormal. It wasn't, but it was the first confirmation I felt that, yeah, this is really what's going on. And then it's happened, and then we have done a lot of stuff with Dory Spence, the psychic medium here locally, and she's given me a lot of confirmation that is what I'm feeling. And I've seen it happen to her quite a bit. You were at Cheeseman Park with her with a group. She was taking a group there, and we tagged along, and she got so overwhelmed by energy there that we ended up having to take over the presentation for her, because she just
got frazzled.
She got frazzled, and there was just too much energy going on in that place for her. And this was in the middle of the day.
Yeah, too many people wanting to speak to her at one time.
Yeah, it was like a haunted tour thing that she was doing, and we we were just tagging along, and we just we had to take over, and she just she practically fell asleep. She was so drunk. So, and the same thing happened to me there too, at a different time.
Had she ever experienced that before?
At Cheeseman, yes. She says it happens to her quite a bit when she goes there. And so it's, sorry.
It's okay. You guys have been having to deal with my pups, so I apologize.
But yeah, she doesn't do a lot of events there, kindred spirits events, because it's hard for her there. It's just too overwhelming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking your time was the pool table story.
Oh, go ahead and tell it. You know it pretty well.
No.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I missed the really subtle things about the spirit world. I could have a spirit sitting next to me and I wouldn't notice him. It has to be this in your face, slap you upside the head, hey, I'm frickin' over here shit before I'll even notice it.
Calling out your name. It calls out his name out a lot.
So I'm good in haunted places. I'd curl up in the corner over there with a pillow and start snoring in 10 minutes because the subtle things don't bother me. It has to be the, hello, I'm over here. And I've had a few of those in my lifetime. She was talking about a pool table incident where I was sleeping over at a friend's house, and their house was very, very old. It's in the South, it's in Georgia, and it had an addition of a finished basement, and it had a pool table there, and we couldn't figure out if the pool table was haunted or whether the home was haunted because the pool table had come from an old billiard hall / bar kind of situation. And it was several times where I was awoken in the middle of the night and would go out into the area where the pool table is, and the sticks would be leaning against the pool table and the balls would be on the pool table. And the damn light would even be turned on. And I'm thinking, how the hell does it turn on the light? I guess if you could pick up a pool stick, light switch is pretty easy, but why do they need a light? I mean, come on, they're spirits. Anyways, that kind of in-your-face thing, so you get up at 3 in the morning and they're having a party in there at the pool table, and it's like, okay, I just need to go to the bathroom and go back to bed.
Carry on.
Kind of move the stools out of the way and make your way to the bathroom. But, yeah, the kind of in-your-face stuff, that's the only thing that really grabs my attention for some reason. Maybe I'm not as sensitive to it as many others, but yet it still approaches me and seeks me out for some reason.
It calls him out by name. I even bought him a shirt going, you've made it in ghost hunting when a ghost calls you out by name.
On a lot of investigations, they do tend to call me out by name, which is kind of weird, but
Yeah, we can go into different rooms.
I'm good with it. They follow me around.
And they'll call them out by name.
I have
and
spirit
stuff.
lackeys.
Take care of my
I
light
just
work.
think I'm a likable guy, and they want to hang out with me.
Well,
you know?
especially in the Callahan house, they kept calling you. We'd be in the basement.
Yeah,
and they
but
would say your name.
I don't think
You
that-
weren't even in the room, and they would call my name.
the situation.
Right.
The situation I kind of got with the Callahan house was Mr. Callahan was a very prominent man, and I don't think he liked me being there. And then I think the other ghosts were worried about me, that the fact that he didn't like me being there. So that was kind of the feeling I got was, yeah, Mr. Callahan, he was kind of a stuffed shirt, and I'm not. I'm the type of person he wouldn't have allowed in his house back in the day. So he's probably pissed I'm sitting in his favorite chair at the piano, you know.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
You know, the other ghosts are probably worried about me that Mr. Callahan's pissed because he probably verbally or physically abused them when he was angry.
Well,
and I don't take shit from ghosts.
it
so.
really was worrying me because they're calling him out by name all night long. And then Patrick felt really drained of energy kind of towards the end of the night. And so he stepped out of the mansion and went out to the garden. And Drew and John from 303 Paranormal, we stayed in this one room, and we were doing the spirit box. And the spirit box kept calling out Patrick's name. And it even said, Patrick outside. But it was saying it in a way like it was worried about him. And it was concerning me. It was like...
Meanwhile, I'm out in the parking lot partying with some homeboys. You know?
Well, it makes me wonder if there was something outside of the house premises that was not good, but something good
like
on
I
the
said,
inside.
I don't.
That's what was, and it worried, the way the spirit said it, I got really worried, and I actually left the room and went out to go check on him because it made me worried, like, I need to go, like, if the spirit was telling me to go check on him. And, you know, and I think that garden's haunted too, but I haven't caught anything out there yet.
I think I'm just kind of an acquired taste. Either ghosts like me or they don't.
Well, it's kind of like martinis. You want it shaken or stirred? How much of this vermouth do you want in it? Because that shit is nasty.
No, I don't drink your dad's martini. I like vodka martinis, and I usually like them flavored or exotic. Or I'm not the traditional martini guy.
What do we call them in our book? Pools of...
Tasty pools of alcohol.
No,
I
vodka.
remember...
Tasty pools of vodka.
Yeah, I remember Patrick was like, you know what the good thing about this martini is? It's got vodka in it.
Not a gin guy.
No.
Can't
That
go
takes
that
a bitter
route. Gin
taste.
and vermouth.
I'm not
Ew.
that bitter yet. Maybe when I get more bitter, I'll like it, but no.
And then when they're talking about dirty martini, you're gonna pour olive juice in my frickin' alcohol. Get out of town.
Yeah, we need to come out with our book because we have some really good recipes.
Well, you guys really should. And do you guys have an actual Colorado martini in there?
Well, they're all locally flavored or locally based, and that's why we were calling it Colorado Martini. So they were actually recipes from around the area of the state. So to answer your question, is all of them had
All of the above.
a Colorado theme to them. Everything from
Their names were mostly.
the White Walker went a little off the edge, but we were bringing the snow into it, so it was all good.
No, but I renamed it because I didn't want to call it White Walker because I read, copyright.
Oh no, copyright. Damn,
You just
Game
have
of
to spell it
Thrones.
differently.
There was White Walkers before there was Game of Thrones. Just everyone know.
WHYTE.
Or an O, it's in a Walker with WO. Those are my favorite, by the way. They're actually, we call them a White Cosmo. And they're made with white cranberry juice.
Yeah, rather than your normal cranberry juice. Quite tasty.
Elderflower liqueur. Have you ever had this?
Saint
St.
Germain.
Germain's. Oh my God.
Fancy bottle. Expensive as hell too. It's like a
Yeah.
$40 or $50 bottle.
Yeah, St. Germain's. I'm sorry, I forgot I'm on a podcast. I'm like showing the bottle.
Well, you're showing it to her.
I can see it.
St.
That's-
Germain's.
Yeah. That's why Howard Stern said he went into radio. He was too ugly for TV.
Well, I mean, at least he's honest. No, but I think different characters are interesting. Like, it draws your eye, even though it's different from what you're supposed to like. Like, I like
Right.
different facial structures and different characters and humor. And so that's why I'm, like, so drawn to you guys. And I love your channel. You guys are just so open and honest. And you really express, like, what you're thinking and feeling. And, you know, it's interesting. I love it.
Well,
You guys
thank
have
you.
so much fun. 30
thank you.
years. Did you guys ever feel like you wanted to kill each other?
At least once a day. But
get over
getting
it.
through that is what holds the marriage together.
Right? That's the fun part.
We've been best friends for 33 years now. You know, we actually, when we first met, we got married 5 months after we met.
Wow.
Yeah, I came home from college for winter break, and went to work a couple of weeks in my sister's restaurant in Palm Desert, California, and he worked for my sister. And I never went back to that college and stayed home, and we were married 5 months later and finished college at home. You know, and we've been married for 33 years now. No.
Kudos. Especially
Thank you.
today, there's so many couples, and I'm so amazed. Like, are you serious? This couple, they didn't even go through separation. They just went straight to divorce. And I'm just like, holy shnikes. Like, this COVID is affecting everything and everyone around the world. It's not just politics. This is something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I always thought it was helpful that we got married, but we didn't 12 months later have a child. And then 12 months later have another child. And
Yeah.
not that I don't love kids. We have kids. But it's kind of nice to when you get married to spend some time together and actually get to know the person that you're going to have your children with. So, I mean, we went, 6-7 years before we had our first child?
5 years.
5 years.
Wow.
I'll tell Kayla you didn't remember that.
She'll get over it. But, you know, having some time to, I mean, not necessarily to make sure your marriage works, but to build a stronger marriage before you introduce more obstacles like children, because children are wonderful, but they do get in the way of your relationship. And if you don't have a strong relationship going into that, you're not it's building on a shitty foundation, something we don't do in the building industry. So.
Shit on a shingle, no bueno.
Simone.
You can paint a turd up real nice and put perfume on it and whatever, but it's still going to be a turd.
I've been polishing turds for years.
So,
You're good
what
at
is your
it.
I'm
outcome?
really good at it. Before you're done, I'll think that's a diamond.
Just look at it.
I'm curious how you found our channel. Was it through the paranormal groups or just...
It was
Remember-
through Facebook, and some people call it Facebook, but I really appreciate Facebook. Had it not been for Facebook, I would not have found long-lost friends and relatives.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it, and people are like, but there's assholes on there. Well, there's the unfriend and block button that you could use. So do
Yeah, I
that.
find that I can be friends with someone and not follow them. That's awesome.
Well, you know, for the paranormal groups are fantastic on Facebook. I mean, no other place would I be able to get close and friendly with some of these people that are on TV. You know, like Brandon, it's, you know, they're just, you know, you talk to them every single day and they talk to you back and stuff. And, you know, it's just so much more personable than Twitter and Instagram and stuff when it comes to these groups. And that's what I've really enjoyed with the paranormal Facebook.
It's not the
groups.
political arguments.
No, I don't go down that avenue.
Well, it's like for so long there was paranormal teams fighting against each other, just like religion. Like if we all came together with our good points, we'd be on a good playing field. But instead, we're gonna fight each other, and this one sucks, whatever. But it seems like there's a lot of paranormal unity going on these days. I think people are realizing that there's big shit happening, and we gotta stick together. Like if we're fighting each other, we're gonna be divided, easier to conquer. If we work together, and use our different talents and backgrounds, so on and so forth, like we could get further.
Exactly.
Yeah, well said.
I was so glad when the para unity was becoming it's just a strong movement within all the different groups. I was so glad to see that. We all, like you said, we all bring different things to the table, and some of us are more into it than others. You know, some of us do it full time, some of us don't, and but we're all believers, and that's at the end of the day, we have to remember we're all believers and we believe in the same thing. We just might have a different path that we take to get there. So the whole parent unity thing, I think, is a wonderful movement.
It really is, and I appreciate it, and I'm excited. It's been hard, though, like, with the COVID, again, going out there and helping people. Like, I can tell them what to do online, but really showing them how to cleanse their house, so on and so forth. Put your freaking foot down. Like, people have to realize, no matter how scared you are, you're more powerful than this being that wants you to think it's more powerful. Like,
right.
You have the standing. You're the human being with the light within you. Like, you are stronger than this entity. So a lot of people get freaked out, but I don't know. I just love it.
Once you realize that, it's a game changer. I mean, that was a game changer for me. And, the one person that actually really helped me, who I've never met personally, was Chip Coffey. And I love him. And he was, when he goes in and helps these young mediums, psychic mediums and stuff, on how to deal with the spirits that are talking to them and how to push them away. And, he said, imagine this white light around you, this powerful white light of energy. And that was so helpful to me because now when I go into a place and I feel like something's attaching on to me, I feel like I walk in with more strength and to say, you can come my way, but I'm in control. You can't control me. I'm the one that's in control. And that's what, a lot of people don't realize they need to do. They need to take control of their own house. They need to take care of control of their own energy. And all this stuff with demons, the flavor of the month now is, demon.
Everything's a demon.
Demons equal ratings.
And it just, I'm sorry, but there's, yes, there is evil out in the world and stuff, and there are demons and stuff, but not around every single freaking corner.
Yeah, everything that bumps in the night's not a demon, okay?
It's probably
more like
if it
grandma,
scratches
she's looking
you
for the cat or something,
A lot of times when you get scratched, they're just trying to get your attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't get it. Oh my God, it scratched me. It's a demon. No, it's not.
And if somebody's pretty,
there's not nail clippers in the spirit world, dude. Get past it.
Yeah, and if you're getting something nasty on the spirit box, somebody's talking, get out, or, F you, or whatever. You're talking to somebody who was probably just an asshole in life.
Well, and that's what I've said.
Life.
Just because you die doesn't make you a better person. When you die, you are the person you were when you died. And over time, things can happen to make you more angry or more peaceful, or, you get out of there wherever you're stuck, or, I don't know. My mom told me that she could go anywhere she wants, anytime she wants, so I really appreciate that viewpoint. Like, I'll go for an astral hop and visit my kids and my grandkids and my future kids. I don't know, the whole...
I wonder if I can get a tan, because I'm thinking like a beach somewhere.
Yeah, even floating by the sun, you can get that really quick, crispy tan.
Get some sun on my Casper ass.
So you don't blind everybody?
What's that movie that came out recently? Was it Ghost or Ghost Story? The one where he's an actual sheeted ghost?
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh my God, there's like hardly any talking in the entire movie, and he dies, and he's actually a ghost in the house with a sheet over him. Oh God, what is that? And it's like serious movie. It's not a joke.
Well,
Well, there's obviously a reason I haven't seen it.
Now I have to
that
look it
happened
up.
in my house. The spirit appearing to my kids decided to be under a sheet. What do
Really?
you know,
Intimidation
link-
factor?
yeah, what do you link spirits with? So you're watching Scooby-Doo and it's, the guy under the sheet or the swamp man or whatever. But my daughter, who's now 16, I think she was 10 at the time, went to go to the bathroom and saw this tall figure, like 6+ foot tall, with a sheet over it, and freaked out, threw up, told her sister about it. Her sister wouldn't look, but her friend did, and she was like, holy shit, it is out there, and it's like moving around like this under a sheet. And I think they're intelligent to the point where they can appear to what they know freaks you out because they can communicate telepathically. Like, they don't need to speak, they can hear your thoughts. And I tell people that too, like, you can talk out loud to your lost loved ones, or you can even say it in your head, whatever you feel comfortable with. They can hear you, which is freaky.
Yeah, if ghost around here starts wearing a sheet, I'm buying that real low thread count shit.
So you can rip it open easy?
I'm going to make sure he's miserable underneath that
Put
damn
holes
thing.
in my good sheets. The movie's called A Ghost Story. I just looked it up.
Oh, shit.
It's called A Ghost Story, and it came out in 2017. And you should watch it.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
Have you actually watched the movie?
Oh, I've watched it beginning to end. I had to see what movie that was getting critically acclaimed about a ghost under a sheet. I had to watch it.
Were you disappointed or intrigued?
I was intrigued. And the whole point of me bringing it up was that this poor ghost, he's newly married, he dies, he watches his wife suffer and their baby, and then she ends up having to leave and sell the house. Then these other family moves in, and then another family moves in, then another family moves in, and he's watching the whole thing. He's a fly on the wall this whole time, under the sheet in the corner, and then the house gets demolished, and then
he's a homeless.
He's still standing there.
And then
I'm intrigued
and
now.
then a high rise gets built, and he's in the high rise. Okay, so my point is, if I was that guy, I'd be freaking pissed off too and say, get out, and you asshole, and die. After all that. It's like, what did I do to deserve this?
Well, it's funny talking about scary movies and stuff. Like, I was raised on that. Like, I love being scared. And I think it's the adrenaline rush or something about it. And plus all the things I've experienced since I was crawling that I've seen and retained. Like most memories, you don't. But the real ones that really strike your brain, I think you keep. And sometimes they come back to you. But, I mean, it's amazing the different things that are out there. So, Patrick, did you have an early experience, or did you just pick up on this in later life? I know I've heard you say, I don't think I'm cut out for this spirit investigation stuff.
That's because, again, the spirits don't seem to like me too much.
But you say that, and
maybe
they actually
my
do the
approachability,
K2
I
meter
don't know.
and stuff. I've seen when you talk to them and you put the candy out, or you say you have candy, it starts ticking on it. Have you noticed that, Denise?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I think he's in denial.
It seems like younger spirits will come his way, but so many times we won't get anything when he's in the room, and so he'll leave me by myself in like this place, and I'm just like, oh great, and I'm talking to nobody that's a ghost.
Well, I've been told by a psychic medium that, look at it this way, Patrick. You're not that approachable on the street to your average person. Why would a spirit want to approach you? He can strike up a conversation. So it's really no different, Anyways, it kind of makes sense to me.
Well, the one time he really freaked me out was in that turret. We were in Lincoln, New Mexico, and which is
Home of Billy the Kid.
Billy the
Oh
Kid.
my
You know
gosh.
where
Lincoln County Wars.
the Lincoln County Wars happened. And so
Cool town, by the way. Whole town's a national historical site. The Murphy store, all that shit's still in place. So if you're a Billy the Kid fan or like those 80s young gun movies with all the handsome young boys in it, town's still there. It's really awesome piece of history.
Yeah, it's really cool. Well, we went there and we weren't there to really paranormal investigate, but a lot of times.
Well, shit, I was trying to talk to Billy.
Well, we'll take the K2 in and just see.
I'm in the courthouse where he plugged the guy going, hey, are you here?
Yeah, we'll pop the K2 and just kind of see what we're getting, and we'll try to get some EVPs just to see if we get hits, and if we do, then we'll, do an investigation. But so we were inside this old turret. It's like this silo that's not that big. That's
It's like a 12-foot circle.
That
goes up 3 stories.
And the townspeople would get in there when the Apaches would attack.
Well, see, I'm not sure if that story meant that the whole town would go in there. I think.
Well, the whole town.
Well, you know what?
said that it
Apaches
was
are really
there.
scary.
That it was there to protect the townspeople, so maybe they would camp around it, and I don't know.
No, they got inside it, so that's why it was built. And
Hold
so
like 15 people.
It was there when it was Mexico, and then when it was Billy the Kid's time, the turret was still there. When Lincoln, the town, got built up in the late 1800s, and so the Lincoln County Wars, the other side of the Lincoln County Wars that was against the
Murphy faction.
The Murphy faction, which was the opposite side of Billy the Kid, held up in there during a big gunfight. And, so a lot of people died around the turret. So to get in there, the door's like 3 foot tall.
Yeah,
you have to bend down.
Yeah, and the walls of the turret are 3 feet. They're at least 2 feet thick.
Well, people were smaller back then.
Yes, they were. And doors were a lot harder to make too.
So you can go inside this thing. You can get inside this thing. So we go in, and it's got the slits where you can put your rifle through and everything.
Got those crosses in the walls.
We pull out the K2 just to see. We put it on this old table that's in there. I mean, this table was probably from the mid 1800s, and we weren't getting anything at first, were we? I don't remember. And then, so Patrick left and closes the door of this thick door and leaves me in there by myself. It's pitch dark.
Have at her.
Asshole.
And I'm just it was freaky, not to mention claustrophobic. And somebody started talking to me. The K2 started going off intelligently. And, every time I would ask it questions, it would answer me. And we have a video on that too. It's what we call it, the Billy the Kid. It's got a picture
on
of the turret.
Trail of Billy the Kid.
Yeah, the trailers. I mean, not the trailer. The thumbnail's got the turret on it, and
love Western history. It's awesome.
So, what do you guys think? Do you think Billy the Kid was killed by one of his best friends, or do you think he let him get away and say this other guy was Billy the Kid, and then that one guy that popped up was actually Billy the Kid?
So I've been doing a lot of research because when we were in New Mexico, we did a lot of Billy the Kid videoing, and we went out to his grave, and we have a video on that, and I even have more footage I haven't even put out yet. I don't know. I didn't used to believe that guy in Texas was, Billy the Kid that survived.
Yeah,
Now
I think he was too timid.
I really still don't believe it was him, but I do find it plausible that Pat Garrett did let Billy get away because they were.
I think that guy could have been his best friend afterwards. That's why he knew everything.
Right,
and
right.
Billy died, but he's like, "Hey, I'm Billy the Kid."
Yeah, so I think it's very plausible that he could have gotten away. He's gotten away so many other times, and but we'll never know.
I think he's dead in the grave.
Well,
and
yeah, today.
I'll tell you why. During our research and history, I found one thing that was Billy's Achilles heel. He liked the popularity. He loved
Attention.
it when he was recognized. And there's no way in hell that kid could have shut up and went and lived a silent life somewhere. Just didn't happen. And I think that's also why Pat Garrett had to kill him. He wouldn't leave the area because he loved the fame. He loved the people. And that was the only way he could get rid of him, was to kill him. He wouldn't leave.
Well, the thing is that we could put this all to rest with DNA testing because we know where his mother's buried. She's buried in New Mexico. We know where her grave is. And her headstone's even in the Lincoln County Museum. And we could take her DNA and the DNA, in the grave and compare it.
They've actually tried to do this, but the town that the body's buried in won't allow it.
Because,
can you imagine losing Billy the Kid's grave? What the hell are you going to go to this town for?
The one they claim it is like has a little iron fence all around it.
Yeah, it has to be bolted to the ground.
Well, you know why? Because the headstone's been stolen twice now. And the first time it was gone for 25 years. And it showed up in a farm field in Texas, just in the middle of a farm field. They found his headstone 25 years later. So then they put it in, they tried to secure it. And then some truck driver, because you're out, there's nobody around when you go out to that graveyard. You're out in the middle of nowhere. And the town is maybe, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, away from the gravesite. And this truck driver decided he wanted this headstone. And so he jacked it up and took it back to California. And it was sitting in his living room in Huntington Beach, and he was boasting about it to some other people. And they
Surf's up, dude. You want to see Billy's grave?
And they turned him in. So now they have this full-on, just metal barring. Not only is the whole thing in a
that
cage,
shit's bolted down. It's not going anywhere.
It's bolted down.
Unless you bring your welder and your torch and your hydraulic lift and your pallet jack. And
they have the body cemented in, but the thing is that the body is not really right where it is anyways.
That's
because
what I heard.
There was a massive flood.
There's been a few floods through there.
There was a massive flood, and it took most of the headstones of the graveyard, and moved a lot of the bodies, and because there's several people buried there. It's not just him and his buddies that are buried there. And so when you go in, you notice that the graveyard's very sparse of headstones, and that's why, because they were all.
Yeah, if it wasn't worth mentioning, they didn't replace the headstone.
So his original headstone, it doesn't exist anymore because of that flood. It floated away in the flood and got destroyed. It was just I think a wooden headstone originally.
Yeah, so getting back to the story, they could lay that whole argument to rest with a simple DNA test, but the town won't give up the body for the sampling. They feel that it is, but like I said, you wouldn't want to lose Billy the Kid's grave. There's nothing else out there to really bring in tourism. Fort Sumter itself was really cool. The old military base, and it was bought by a private party, and that's where Billy's friends lived, and that's why he was out there. That's why he got shot. But, yeah, he would never leave the area. There's no way, and if he did, he'd never shut up about it.
Well, yeah, he was too egotistical, and he had a very high charisma. That's how he was able to suck different people in.
Right,
It's kind of like Tom Sawyer. Hey, you want to help me paint my fence? It's kind of like that.
Well, we tried to communicate with him over in Lincoln. I usually don't
at the Tunstall store
at the time. Yeah, but we didn't get any hits with Billy. I don't like doing a lot of investigations in graveyards.
Yeah, give
I've
them
been
their
against
piece.
that too.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We'll go out there
it
and get the history, but
I find it a place of rest, and I've always been leery of it. But since the lockdown and the kids being bored, I'm like, you guys want to go ghost hunting? Let's go, because we know several people in the cemetery. But I was amazed, every time I looked down, unknown. I'm like, how the hell is there so many unknown people in this cemetery? How do you not know who that is? At least they had a name. How does that happen? Have you guys experienced that as well, noticing unknown graves?
If the original marker gets taken and they don't have records, we were talking about a little bit about Cheeseman Park when a cemetery, older cemeteries especially, they didn't keep that great of records. It wasn't like today is where you buy a plotted cemetery lot that has, you could probably find it on GPS for all four corners. It was, here's $75, go bury Buck by the tree. So that in the wood markers, they would get easily, nature take its course, take the wood markers, even some marble pre-weathers. But if you lose the original marker and you don't have a register or some type of documentation of who's buried in that four-corner plot over there, you have to mark it as unknown. You don't want to leave it as an unmarked grave.
There's a lot of famous people in history that we know they're in the cemetery,
but we don't know where the hell they're at.
But we don't know where they're at
because of the marker.
You know, and it's like Al Swerenser is one of them. He got killed here in Denver. Al from Deadwood. You motherfucker.
He was
Motherfuckers.
He was the owner of the Gem Saloon. He came to Denver and somebody bashed his head in, and they don't know where he's buried.
Yeah. But everybody thinks that they took him back home, but they didn't. He was a pauper at the time, and so he's probably buried in Riverside somewhere. I've been trying to figure out where he's buried. It's been kind of one of my rabbit holes lately.
Yeah, and you guys have been talking about these graves and how they try to move them, or some people left for parks. And my great-great-great-grandpa, John O'Brien, which that was my dad's name too, John O'Brien Thomas, but he was buried in a grave in Chicago. And then to build a park, at first it was apartments, then it was parks. They moved them and put them all in a mass grave instead of burying them individually just because of the monetary value. It's really ugly and perverse, and I think it causes unrested spirits. Just like before that, Native American spirits, houses being built there, disturbed spirits. Like, how can they not expect this to disturb people? And I don't think they really care because they don't think it's going to affect them, but it really does affect the people that move into that environment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, every time I'm at Cheeseman Park, and especially the Waring House, which is the mansion that belongs to the Denver Botanical Gardens, I always feel like somebody's looking down at me from upstairs, from the windows upstairs. I always feel uneasy when I'm at the Waring House, and that's built on a mass grave. And that's why the house was donated to the Denver Botanical Gardens, because the graves and the caskets that are underneath and the mass grave keeps deteriorating, and so the ground keeps sinking, and the house is tearing apart.
That is so creepy. I've been there.
The home's been compromised due to the imploding caskets underneath the house. And then the garden out back is built over a pauper's mass grave. Quite an active house, really neat mansion.
But haunted as shit.
Can you take me there?
Well, some rich hootie-tootie comes and builds their house on top of your grave. That pissed me off, too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let that bitch sleep at night at all.
Well, it's funny, though. Yeah. Like, people are like, I just built this house, and it's haunted. Well, consider the land it's built on. I just discovered this year that my house is on massacre ground from the Ute Indians that were fighting the Americans. And I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. All this shit we've experienced here. I'm like, now I can wrap my brain around it. Otherwise, I'm like, why the hell is this happening? But
yeah, go pitch a tent on the Gettysburg battlefield and see what happens. It's the same damn thing.
Yeah, I went to a battleground in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, and they actually didn't have the blue or gray uniforms. They wore like a khaki colored with gold embellishment. I can't remember what exactly they called it. It was something else. But it was a khaki color. And my daughter saw it running up the stairs of the rebuilt house. Come to find out, I thought it was a ranger because the color, I'm thinking blue or gray. We go to the museum and see this uniform, squash, that's what it was, squash colored with gold embellishment. I'm like, holy shit. She just saw the fucking general running up the stairs, and then we ran into the wife and her kids. And then on the third day, we were surrounded, like they were encroaching on us, and we're like, okay, we just need to get the F out of here. Like,
Yeah, it'd be
Can't stay
time to move
anymore.
along.
Yeah,
Yeah, I grew
we've
up
got
in
enough.
I grew up in the state of Georgia, and the area that I grew up in was notorious battlefields. As kids, we used to be able to go out in the woods behind our house with a metal detector and a shovel and dig up cannonballs, musket shot. Unbelievable, the stuff we would be able to dig up. So the whole area, and then at night the woods were supposed to be haunted. You know, a lot of people wouldn't go out into the woods at night. I never really had any fear of going into the woods. I don't really didn't at the time probably believe in spirits, and I knew there was, well, we're in Georgia, we don't have bears, we don't have mountain lions. What the hell is there to be afraid of? So, but yeah, a lot of people were scared of these ghosts, and that kind of lore is handed down through the generations. That you don't want to go out there at night. That's that was a big battlefield, and there's angry soldiers out there. And it's kind of weird thinking back on it now. It's like, man, we used to go out there and pitch a tent and have a few beers.
It's a party back there. What the hell's going on? But I want to thank you guys so much once again for being my guest tonight. I feel like even though we had 3 hours, it's still not enough time. It never is. But thank you so much again for joining us tonight on Late Night in the Rockies. It was awesome to hang out with you and learn your stories. I love hearing stories.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Hey, it
We
was great.
appreciate it.
Appreciate the
Hope to have you
conversation.
back. For sure. Like I said, I don't think we covered everything, so I think we have another show coming.
Yeah, we have more investigations to do to make more new stories.
Well, can you tell our listeners your YouTube page or wherever else they can find you?
So we're Colorado Martini on pretty much all platforms. Our channel on YouTube is our main, outlet, and that's Colorado Martini, and we're Colorado Martini on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We're on others, but those are the ones that we maintain the most. And we would love to have you come over and watch some of our videos and let us know that you found us here.
I
It was
think
so
you're
awesome
welcome.
having you